Good morning, everybody. Super stoked to see all of you guys in the chat. Things are already buzzing this morning, which is super awesome. Hopefully all of you are doing well. Let me check my mic levels real quick here. Make sure all is well on my end. Looks like it is. So super awesome to see all of you familiar faces in here. Heinrich, Elijah, Alan, Stratos, Vit, Simon, so many people. I love it. This is really exciting. So welcome again to another live stream Oxygen build. Now this one is a client site, so this is going to end up being a real site at some point in the near future. However, the mockup we're working off of is not quite, and Shay, welcome in, super glad to see you. John, hi everybody. So the mockup we're going to be working from today is close, but it's not quite perfect because this is a brand new business. So a lot of the details of this mockup and this website are to be decided with a goal of going live in the beginning of May. So we are basically going to get some structure on the site so that we can get the website going. And the property isn't even built yet; it's not even completed. So a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing is with some stock photos and just kind of general information for now. So this will be kind of an evolution. So if you guys check back on this site in a few months, and maybe we can do a video on it, then it would be kind of cool to see the evolution of this site. So that's kind of the goal today. Now, let me go ahead and switch over here to the mockup so you guys can see this. And let me make sure that it actually switched on the screen. There it goes. Perfect. So I wanted to double check I'm switching to the proper things over here. Yeah. So hello from Greece. Looks like we got two people from Greece, which is awesome. Stratos and Georgios. Hopefully I said your name right. Now, what we're going to do is build this basically. So this is done by the same designer that did the Permaslug site from a few days ago. So it probably feels pretty consistent, although it's a completely different business, completely different sort of feel for the site. But principally, this is a luxury RV resort that is nearby the beach, not quite on the beach. So this photo will end up changing. But essentially, the motor coaches that go to this place look like that, and they don't allow anything less than that. So I don't even know if that one's like up to date, but in any case, that is the idea here. So we're going to be building this site. One thing that I think is going to be super cool is trying to build this sidebar menu. So I'm not exactly sure how we'll pull this off, but I think it's going to be a lot like the pop-up little tooltips that we did just a few days ago on the Permaslug website. Those are really clean, and I haven't found any issues with them so far. They work on mobile. They work nicely on desktop. Yeah, Elijah says, yeah, totally. Yes, basically. These are people that are going to drive for months and months at a time and go to different stops, which sounds great, but that is not my ideal kind of vehicle personally. But then again, I've never even stepped foot in one of those, so I might not know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's absolutely amazing. You're living in like a luxury hotel on wheels, basically. But in any case, hello from Germany. Hi from Florida. That's where I am. So LS, hopefully, if that's your name, I'm just taking the first part of it. Nick says, what's an RV? That's a good question. So an RV is a recreational vehicle. It's like a class of vehicle, and basically they look like that. So there are plenty of smaller ones. They get much, much smaller than that, but typically they're like self-propelled luxury hotels on wheels, like I said. So that's what we're going to be working on today. I'm going to try to move a little bit more quickly today for the sake of time. So if you have questions, I will try to pay attention to chat. I was going to mention there is the super chat function as well. So a couple of you guys donated last time, which was amazing. And then we'll just kind of cruise through this. So yeah, Elijah says, can't imagine having a relaxing vacation while driving a tour bus. I imagine it would be pretty difficult because I drove one of those like 25-foot RVs. It's basically like the Ford chassis on the front end with like the stuff on the back. And that thing was wobbling all over the road. I did not enjoy that. So hopefully those are better. Chris says there was an RV on Top Gear where they had space for a supercar in the bottom. Yeah, for sure. The Top Gear RV episode is fantastic where they race them and crash them all. I love that. Okay. So one thing I wanted to cover real quick is the typical setup for me with a brand new website like this is I use Cloudways as my host. Of course, I have a video here on the channel if you're interested in checking it out in detail. But essentially what I do is have a base WordPress install with Oxygen and all of the typical plugins that I use that look like this. So most of these on here are going to vary depending on your specific preferences. But in my case, I like everything that you see there and have had really good luck with it all over the years. So these are already pre-installed. They're already updated as best I can. Sometimes they do get a little bit out of date, but I do like the portion of the I do like all this stuff here. So anyway, that's what I use on a typical install. I have some basic pages set up. Of course, we're going to change all this, and then there is a template created, but I'm pretty sure this template is blank. So we are really going to be starting from the very beginning here. Sorry, let me mute my phone so that we don't get a bunch of buzzing in the microphone. So basically, we're just going to go ahead and kick off with the mockup here. So I'll get rid of Cloudways and we'll stay here. Let's take a look at this mockup real quick and let's kind of see how we're going to do this. So one question I am unsure of, which means that will probably change later, is how we're going to accommodate this header on the inner pages. So we might end up doing something like we've done in other streams where we have, a situation where the header just shrinks. But in this case, I kind of picture this to be full screen. This says it's a height of 890 pixels. So it's going to be pretty close to full screen on like a 1080p display. So we're going to kind of play with that. And then this header, I think, is going to be pretty sweet. It'll basically be like one giant tooltip. We're going to have it be essentially the full container height there. As far as this arrow, I've actually struggled with making active links pop up. I think there's some JavaScript you can use, and I might be able to steal it from somewhere, but I probably won't worry about this arrow today. The really interesting thing is this hover effect. So we have this path, and I'm not sure if I export that and then there's a way to make the path pop up, or if you can do it maybe as like an SVG or something. So that will be potentially some details that we skip over for now, the arrow and the little hover effect there. But I think this is going to be fairly doable. So we're going to have that. And then, of course, this content will be pretty straightforward. This stuff right here will be specific to the homepage. And then the company doesn't actually have a logo. So we will need to basically just import this. So I think we'll go ahead and get started by moving into, let's see, what do I want to do? Squiggly underline. Is that a built-in thing? Or am I able to do that? I think what we'll probably do is start with the page content, because it's going to be a lot more interesting, I think, to work on that header, or excuse me, this pop-up menu when we actually have page content. So we have something to see there. So let's go ahead and do that. I think I'm going to need to export this photo right here, although that rectangle is not what I want, I don't think. Let me figure out where that image is. Is it this? No. That's the site logo. I already have that. So what happens if I export this rectangle? Is it going to bring out everything? Let me take a look. No, it's actually that photo with the kind of beach color. So amazingly, that water, although this could be photoshopped, that water that you're looking at is not a gradient. It's part of the water, which I don't think this is nothing close to our part of Florida, but the beach is pretty similar. So in any case, we now have what we need to get started. So let's take a look also at what font this is. So Prata is what this is called. Line height of 64, size of 52 pixels, and a weight of 400. So maybe I just didn't expand the typography last time, but for whatever reason, in the previous stream that we did, the weights were all written in like bold and extra bold and stuff. I like having the weights exactly similar, because then of course it's super consistent. So yeah, let's go ahead and go to our pages, and we're going to edit the home page directly, although we need an inner content element in our template, so we're going to have to go do that real quick. Elijah says squiggly underline is probably going to be an after element with a background image that repeats, so you need a slice of the wave. Okay, that is helpful. So a problem for future Jonathan. So I'm going to stick that inner content in our template so that we can actually edit our home page directly. So now we'll switch back over to home, and then we'll go from there. So I have the image exported, and it was 890 pixels high. So I want to see how that behaves on mobile as well. So that will be interesting. Also, we have the page width here is 1440 pixels again, kind of like last time. So 1440. And oh, well, let's see. Yeah. That's what I want, is our page width at 1440. let's see, what's up next? So the fonts, we had Prata, and then what was the other one? This body font, I think, is Oswald. Is it? Yeah, it's Oswald 300, which is actually pretty light. So we are going to potentially make that then a little bit. Let's see. So what we can do is, I think we can go ahead and use a section in this case, because last time on the Permaslug website, I was doing a div that was basically our padding on the left and right edges, and then the inside div was the one that was restricted to 1440 pixels wide. But in this case, I don't know that we'll need to do that. I think we can just restrict everything to a section, and then in a case like this with the map, we can just use a div, because everything else I think should be pretty much exactly 1440. That says 726, but I don't think, well, maybe I'm just not measuring the right thing. If I select these two elements, does it give me the measurements here? I mean, it's exactly in line with this stuff. I just want to know what the space on the left and right edges is, which I guess is going to vary based on screen size. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started, and we'll pop some stuff in here. So we really don't have anything except some default stock photos that are uploaded to these sites so that I have something to play with. So we're going to go ahead and stick this rectangle in. I actually need to go ahead and rename some of this stuff so that I have, you know, something better than rectangle 3-1 there, as you can tell. So we'll select this, and then for our height, let's go ahead and define it as 890, but we're definitely going to have to change that. And I'm going to get rid of the structure pane. So actually, I'm going to leave that open. I was going to say so we have extra space, but we have plenty here. And then we have just this stuff over here on kind of like the left, really it looks like the left quarter of the page. It's a pretty narrow box. So this is, gosh, I wish I could see how wide these containers were. I guess you can if you just click the container. There we go. So it's 380, 360, and that one's 360. So what we're going to do is add a div. We are going to set this to 360 pixels wide, and then we'll need to play with the positioning a bit, because right now this is completely over the water, and then in the mockup it's mostly over the water, but slightly on that white edge of the sand. So we'll just kind of leave this at the moment. There was a way that I could copy the text without having to click in that field, which I discovered, which is pretty cool. So this is going to be a heading element. We'll pop that in there. And then let's go ahead and create a class here. So we're going to call this RV. What do we want to name this? I want to do something unlike what I did last time, where I have kind of a base class for my headings. So I'm going to go RV heading. Trying to think here. How do I want to do this? I should have planned this out, but this is what I would be doing on a real site, kind of thinking about this and trying to use classes more intentionally. So RV heading, I guess we'll go with H1 because that one's going to dictate the size. And then what was this one? It was 52 pixels. And then it was white. So let's go with RV heading white. And then this one is going to have our font size of white. What other specialties did we have on this? So it's a weight of 400, which I think is already there. Style is normal. Doesn't look like there's anything else except maybe some letter spacing. I can't tell. It just looks like it has a little bit more breathing room on that container there, unless it's something to do. No, I guess that looks pretty close. Okay, so that will work. And now we need to figure out the margin beneath this, which I imagine is going to be fairly consistent to our other design because it was the same designer as before. So that one is 20, and then underneath our text block here to the button is 48. So I'll try my best to remember that. So our RV heading H1, let's see. I'm going to go with RV margin, let's see, margin medium. And then this is going to have a margin, well, let's see. No, I don't want margin medium. I'm trying to think of a way to name this so that it is margin bottom. I guess it's just going to be on the H1 class actually, because we're going to need that for basically every single one. So then we're going to do a text element. We are going to copy all of this content. And again, all of this stuff is pending for the most part in terms of it being real copy, but we will probably keep a good bit of it. So that to me doesn't look like, I guess it is Oswald. No, not default. I want inherit. There we go. And then underneath this text element, we had 48 pixels down to the button. And this one's going to be kind of interesting. So Liam says, I think your font weight is bold for the H1. Might need to tone it down a bit. Okay, yeah, that might be what was kind of throwing me off. You were right. That was it. So it must be that our H1 is inheriting that larger, that heavier font weight there. So there we go. Good call. I appreciate that. And then same thing. I think this body font is actually 300, which is why it probably looked a little bit different. So that will work for now. We might end up playing with that just a little bit. So our button here looks pretty good. It has this nice white edge on it. So I'm assuming that's just a border left of 1. If I can select that little rectangle, where actually is it? I guess I can't select that. That's okay. Not really a big deal. So we basically are going to make this button full width. And then we have this arrow and book your stay. So this arrow, I believe we can just pull in as an icon element. So we're going to use a link wrapper here. So we're going to pop in a link wrapper. And this class we're going to call RV button. We'll go with primary because I think almost everything is similar to that button. Then we are going to set the background color, which I don't actually have yet, as a global color to this guy. And then Arthur says, hey, Jonathan, switch on layout on the frame, please. It will help. Not sure what you mean. Let's see. The layout on the frame? I am happy to make whatever adjustments. Just not sure what you're talking about. So switch on layout. Layout columns. Oh. Let's see. Is it view? Is that what you're talking about? No. Rulers, layout grids, outlines. I'm not super familiar with Figma, so I'm not exactly sure where to go. Click frame, active first. Sorry, not sure what I'm supposed to do here. Sorry, Arthur. And on the right, make the layout visible. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Click on the main frame, Jonathan, in Figma. Oh. Are you talking this thing? And then click on the main frame. Got it. And then what? The frame containing everything he means. Okay, I got that. So now we got the whole thing. And then what? Am I changing some sort of view? It's not outlines, is it? Oh gosh, that is not what we meant to do. All right, so I got the main frame selected. Now what? And on the right, make layout visible. I don't know. On the right? You guys are probably like screaming at me. I just don't quite understand where layout visible is and how that's going to help me. In Styles Inspector? Okay. I wish somebody could just take control of my computer and just do what Arthur's talking about. I'm sorry. Let's see. I'm being patient here because I wanna get what you're talking about, Arthur. So in Styles Inspector, is that not what I'm in? The Inspect tab right here? Make layout visible. I see nothing with the word layout or like lines or anything. Pixel preview. Layout grids, rulers, outlines. We already turned on outlines, and that's what made it that like awful inverted cube. You have view only. Oh, okay, gotcha. So something is missing that I don't have. That makes sense. I was like, it didn't feel quite right. I was like, there's clearly something that is missing here. Yeah, no worries at all. I am going to go back to this button here, and we'll jump back into this. So let's take a look at the button. There's 48 pixels on the left and right, and then there's 17 on the top and bottom. So just to be consistent, we're going to do exactly what it says. I don't want to deviate from the designs too much. And then I also forgot to grab the green for the actual hex color itself. So we need to set that background color. Oh, not 100%. I don't need that. And then we're going to use the RV green. And then we are going to set this. Actually, I don't think we're going to set a width on the class itself. So we're going to go RV button primary full width like that. And then I'm going to set this to 100% because in our layout, it has the full width like that. And then I'm going to go add a left border that's just white with 1 pixel. Looks like my Figma mockup is refreshing in the background, so I might have more options here. There we go. I see what you're talking about now, Arthur. So we have layout grid. I gotcha. Okay, sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. So that's going to help quite a bit. That's perfect. Sweet. So is that what you were talking about, Arthur? This is what you were asking me to turn on, was the layout grid? So it looks like it's 60 pixels, so you could essentially just count each column, right? Because if each column is 60 pixels, then you'll know roughly how wide something is, so like 120. Oh, I guess that's not quite it, because you have to account for the gap. But in any case, that is very helpful indeed. So I'll turn that back on and off as needed. I wonder if there's a shortcut for that. Is there a way for me to toggle? Oh, I accidentally grabbed this somehow. That's not what I meant to do. Okay, so back over to this button real quick. That's the one you were missing, the design tab in the top right. Okay, yeah. That makes sense now. I understand. Cool. So this arrow, like I mentioned, I do believe we can just use the typical icon element, and then we'll look for an arrow right. I think it's going to be linear icon instead of the font awesome, because the linear icon one is a lot cleaner. So that one is going to be white, and then I'm sure the icon size is way smaller. Right here it says 24 by 18. So we will go with, oops, that is the wrong zoom. Not what I meant to do. We'll go with 24. And then before we were using 8 pixels of margin on the right side. Click on the 4 square dots if you want to increase column gap in the grid. So if I go back to the main frame, then I can play with that a bit. Cool. I'm learning more about Figma. I like it. Yeah, okay, so you can change the column count, the color highlighting, positioning, width, all that kind of stuff. Cool. Sweet. The grid icon on the left. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now we have this text here. which is a font size of 16. And then we just have a regular font weight. So I don't think we're going to need to change it. And actually, I meant to double check what the spacing was between these. It's actually 16. So I'm glad I looked at that. I probably would have assumed that in just a little bit once I realized that it wasn't exactly the color and the size that I needed. Sean says, I signed up for Figma. I always thought it was software for Mac. Today I discovered it's web-based. Yeah, you can use it with basically anything. That's what's so cool about it. I actually really, really like it. I'm going to go back to our full width class here. And let's see. RV button primary is our base class. So I'm going to set the typography on that class here to white because that green background is going to be white pretty much all the time. Then we're going to want this to be horizontal layout. And why didn't it adjust? Is it because this text is too long? Book. Oh, yeah, that's why. Book your stay is the text there. And then it is our other font. It's not Oswald, it's Prada. And then the font size was 16, which I believe is what our base font is set to. And it looks like we have a bit of line height that's pushing our text up above the arrow. So if we just change that to 1, or maybe it's that the icon is too big. There's a bit of margin underneath it, it looks like, for whatever reason. Is it that icon? Yeah, there's something pushing this up. Obviously, I don't want line height of 0. For some reason, it's just ever so slightly off. Do I have to be like, you guys are going to judge me hard for what I'm about to do, but forgive me, just because I want to see. Yeah, it's off by about 4 pixels, but why would that be? Does the icon have a line height? No, I didn't think so. That is kind of annoying. Do I have to go negative margin on this? -4? I guess that's what I'm going to have to do. We were talking about this last time, but Elijah got me on the Figma train because it's just so good. Now, this button definitely has a lot less space on the right side here. Or, well, it doesn't, kind of seems like it. It just seems like this font is bigger. I guess it's letter spacing. That's what it is. So, isn't it? It doesn't look like it here in the design, but it almost certainly looks like there is some letter spacing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Looks like it's even more, actually. Is it 2? Even more, maybe? Is it 3? If you're still here, Arthur, please give me any feedback because I don't want to do things incorrectly here. Now, I probably should have changed this text to be on a class because we did make some adjustments here to make this line up. So I think what I'm going to do is take this RV button primary and I'm going to add a class to our text there. Oh, it's 36%. Oh, okay. I was looking at this for some reason. That's line height. Letter spacing is 36. I wonder if I can Google that. 36% letter spacing to pixels. So we need to convert tracking to pixels. Tracking value of 1000 is equal to 1 EM in CSS. So your case tracking 100 should be 0.1 EM. Okay. EM. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Elijah is Stack Overflow. It says how to calculate CSS letter spacing versus tracking in typography. So let's see. 100 tracking, case tracking 100 would be equal to 0.1 EM. Yeah, that's what I think you're right. I think it's 4 pixels and then it's done. We can sit there and mess with it all day long, but none of us have any interest or time in that. So now what I want to do is RV button primary text is what I'm going to call this class, and I'm going to copy everything that we just did from the ID to that class because we're going to be using this button a lot, and so I don't want to have to restyle everything if we decide to make some adjustments later. So that button is looking pretty solid. It's pretty much identical to the button here, I would think. The only thing I don't know is how to show a hover state. So if there is like an intended hover state here, what that is. One thing that I kind of pictured was that button or that border on the left edge kind of gets thicker. So we'll just leave that as is for now. So we can actually see this a little bit. I'm going to go back to the main frame and turn off these grid lines. So we're going to mess with the menu in a little bit. We're going to go down here to some of this stuff. Now, these are actually going to end up changing to some of the amenities around the facility. So these are just good placeholders for the moment, but we are going to end up swapping those. And some of them will be close, like some of the activities like boating and fishing, restaurants, stuff like that. So in fact, I could realistically just change this to restaurants and it would be more applicable, which is fine. So let's see, oh, export's down here now. There was a tab for it when I was in read-only mode, but we're gonna go ahead and just export these. In fact, I think I can select all of them. And in my export tab, if I export 3 layers, does it give me the individuals? It does, yeah, it zips it, which I guess is okay. Makes it a tad easier, but I could probably, for something like that, with just a few items, go with those 4 all in like one at a time, and it would be reasonably quick enough. So these look to be roughly 255 pixels wide. So what we're going to do is add ourselves a new section in here. Open my structure pane so you guys can see what's going on. And then let's go with a div inside of this. Although I just remembered we do have some default padding on the left and right edges of our sections, so we might need to adjust that to make it consistent with our designs, but we'll come back to that. And then I've been really enjoying using grid for pretty much everything. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to change our grid here to a column count of 4. And then we're going to add in 4 divs. But before I clone this one, I want to go ahead and give this a class to make it really easy to adjust. So PS, I'm going crazy here. Wrong site. RV, what do we want to call this? Home. Actually, I don't know. We might not need a whole lot of styling here because it doesn't look like there's much padding inside of the divs, which is what I was kind of assuming, because right here it lines up with the left edge of that photo. And then our gap here is really going to be down to the grid gap. So in this case, let's just go ahead and add in some of this content. So there's 24 pixels there, and then there's 8 underneath the heading. So I'm going to actually ignore that class for the moment. We might regret that, but that's okay. We can fix that. So we'll upload some of our photos here. So we have those 3, and then we also need one more, which is our restaurant. So the restaurant one is the first one we're going to use. So I already forgot. 20 is it 24 pixels? And then we had a heading. So this one, I'm going to have to change these heading tags eventually, but this one is going to be H2. Now, looking back over here, I guess I kind of... Ooh, I don't know if you guys just heard my stomach. She's rumbling. Let's see here. So I guess the sizes are going to be different. I was thinking that it was a mistake to name this class with an H1, but that actually is our H1. It has a different font size and a different font weight than this. So this one is much smaller. Maybe this is even actually an H3. So this one's font size of 28 and then a regular font weight. So let's go ahead and switch this heading here to an H3. I'm going to add a class of RV heading H3. Our heading is just going to say rest AU like that. And then 24 is already what it is. And then there was 8 pixels underneath that, not 9, that's 8. And then just some filler text, which is Oswald, and it's set to light, but I guess for some reason I don't have that font weight on my computer, which I'm like nearly 100% certain that I do. So I will just go get some different filler text because I don't want to mess up the design, and for whatever reason I can't copy it. So I only need like one sentence. So it's going to be pretty short, something like this. And then font weight is 300. Pretty small and light, but we are zoomed in a little bit. Okay, so that is pretty close to what we want. So I'm going to duplicate this div 4 times, and then let's just go swap this stuff out. So we're going to have fishing is going to be a big one. So fishing, we probably want a fishing pole instead of the little fishy, but I guess that works. Might be considered restaurants. Not going to have camping because, of course, this is an RV resort, but that's what we're going to do for now. And then this other one, Elijah sent $5 for spelling restaurants correctly. That's so funny. I don't know if you noticed, because I always have to say it out loud, or, you know, like think in my head, like rest, AU, rant. So I always think rest, AU, rant. And that's how I get that one done. There's a few others. I'm trying to think. There's definitely others that I have to think like that, but guarantee is one I always get wrong. Guarantee is always wrong. I'm trying to think. I can't remember. Appreciate it though. That's hilarious. I had to Google it. That's hilarious. You're super funny. February is another good one. Yeah, you're right, Liam. February. It's like, it's supposed to be February, not February. That's hilarious. What's another one? I'm trying to think. There's definitely other ones like that that are super clumsy. It's funny. Okay, so then the other thing we had was boating. So that's going to be another big one for people that want to rent like jet skis and pontoon boats and all that kind of stuff. And then we need a bit more gap here. I believe it's 20 pixels, but I'm assuming these are actually more. Yeah, it's 45. So what we can do is go back to our div here, and then in our gap, we can change this to 45, and it basically does it for us. Now, one thing that I didn't do, I don't think, during the stream last time on the Permaslug site for our grid stuff, which I fixed off camera later, was adjusting the grid as you drop in screen sizes. So it's essentially like you would do with if you manually built your divs, but more or less, if you go to 1440, that still looks reasonably okay. It's a bit crammed, but then if we drop to 992, then we actually lose a row entirely. So if we click on the grid and go to column count, I think at this point 2 wide is going to be good, and it positions everything for us, which is just so awesome. And then at 768, that honestly doesn't look that bad, but I think it's small enough that dropping down to 1 makes sense. And it's just so nice because you don't have to bother with setting the widths of the divs and all that. It's just going to make it fit for you. So in my opinion, I used to manually build divs instead of using the columns element, but now I just think that using grid is the ticket. So I don't know if there's any like performance implications, but I imagine if there are, they are fairly small. So not too worried about that. So now looks like I wanted to double check the spacing between the top of these sections. So there's 80 there, and then there's 105 there. Melia says your 4 pixels, 36% in Figma is at 0.36 EM. That sounds about right. Because you can just type EM in this, right? Oh yeah, you can use that. So 0.36. Oh, I made no change. I'm just going to leave it as pixels because I'm reasonably happy with that. I guarantee you spell aluminum differently. Aluminum is... yeah, and you're probably laughing because I said aluminum, but I know everybody else says aluminium. In any case, I'm going to leave the letter spacing on this button as is because I'm reasonably happy with it. Now, the other question is there's 80 pixels on that particular section, but what... oh, whoops, did not mean to realign that. What about between there? So there's 72. So we're going to need to make some adjustments later because I added the image here to the actual home page instead of to the template. So we'll deal with that. That is going to be a problem for future Jonathan. Now, this one has 100 pixels of spacing down to this next box. But we also have another thing to consider here, which is this layout. So we have this really neat looking repeating background that kind of splits this div in half. And in order to achieve that, what I was thinking initially was, oh, EM is font size. I thought we were talking about letter spacing though. What I was thinking initially was that we would do something like one div for this whole portion right here. Then we would have, let's see. Well, actually, I guess we could just position the background on that div. I was thinking we would need another one, but yeah, we could just use the background and just push it down. So let's go ahead and try that. In fact, we could probably just use another section to make it really simple. So we're going to go with section there, and then let's go ahead and stick in a div, which is going to be for that first section. So we'll set this to 100%, and then we're going to go grid with a column count of 2. Inside of that, we're going to use this div, which will be the image, and probably want to set this as the div background instead of an image element itself. So that's 560 high and 560 wide, which makes it nice and simple. So let's go ahead and just set that. So 560 and 560. Then we're going to go to our background image, which I actually don't have that one uploaded. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab a bunch of these images that we're going to end up needing in just a little bit and export those so we make it nice and simple. No, you're not too late. We've been going a little bit now. How long has this been? I actually don't even know. 45 minutes, but we still got plenty more to do. Liam says, how about an after pseudo element for the background? Yeah, I mean, I guess you could do that. It just seems like it's more complicated than it really needs to be, but I think it's certainly possible. So we're going to, I need to unzip those files that I just downloaded. Close those bad boys. Did it actually unzip? Guess I'll find out here in a second. Yes, it did. So I'm going to upload these 3. So I was going to mention something that I thought was kind of funny to you guys. So with this particular website, this was the first time that I've ever actually had to pay for proper stock images, which I thought was kind of funny because normally with, like Pexels and Unsplash and all those kinds of sites, there is pretty much always a usable photo for the sites that I've done, even for like this fabrication company, like a metal fabrication company I did like a year ago. They had, welding pictures and stuff like that, but they had very, very few of these. So I actually had to go pay for some stock photos for this particular project, which obviously I'm happy to do, but never had to do that before. So there's that. Now in our right-hand div, what's our spacing going to be? So it's 37 up there, and then it is, come on now, give me what I'm trying to do here, 40? Is that what that is? 40, yeah, okay. So we'll go 40 left and right. There's 37 on the top, and there's actually more down there, so it's 37 and 60. EM and RIM are both measurements and have different pros and cons for different use cases. Yeah, that's probably something I should research, and we can discuss a bit more. I already forgot. So 40 left and right, 37. Oh, let's see. I don't even have my second div yet. So I need to add that here. So 40, 40, 37, and then 60, I believe was our number. Let's see. That div probably needs to end up growing a bit more, but we'll worry about that in just a minute. So we have a heading that says our amenities, then we have some text, and then we have our button again. So we can just duplicate that earlier button. But what we're going to do is just change this to our amenities. So there's that. And then let's see, let's take a look at the styling here. So this one is 48 regular. And then what was this one? Oh, that one's 52. So it's a little bit smaller. I'm going to call this one our H2. So we're going to call this heading. Well, I guess we got to go RV heading H2. And then actually, what I'm going to do here to save some time because they're so similar. Well, actually, I guess there's not a whole lot that we changed here. So I'll just set the font size and do it like that. I was thinking we would do some other trickery, but it's really not worth it. So what was our padding underneath that? I know I looked at that. Our margin there was 27, and then we had 52. Slightly odd numbers, so I should probably change these a bit to be a little bit more consistent, but let's just go 27, and if I come back and clean this up later, then great. And then 52 underneath this text, and then the text was actually some stuff that I ended up writing, but this is, like I said, almost certainly going to change. This font weight is lighter, and then the font size is about 20. The line height looks pretty similar. It's just not quite as wide. I guess the box is set to a max width of 500, so let's go ahead and do that here. So that kind of pushes the text in a bit, takes up a bit more space. And then what we're going to do is take this entire link wrapper and then essentially just duplicate it down here so that then it's right there. Now, I did add a class earlier for the full width, which we don't need in this case, so I'm just going to remove it. And that's exactly why I added the class, because now it's not going to disrupt this button. That one is still full width, and this one fits super nicely on the page. It's interesting how this RV photo fits. So let's take a look on the front end. So that's already looking nice. I'm very happy with that. I do want some kind of hover effect here. I mentioned changing the border to just grow a little bit. I'm not sure how that's going to impact the content. I don't want it to shift to the right. And then definitely down here, because that border actually gets lost since it's white. Probably just a box shadow or something. Oh yeah, good call. I should go ahead and set that in global settings. You're right. So for the body font, we'll go to settings. Body text is 300, and then we've been using around 20, but I'm going to change the default one to 18 because I personally think 16 is just too small. I don't know how you guys feel about that. So that's starting to look pretty good. Now let's go ahead and add a little box shadow to this. So I typically just go with like a 15, and then I go 0, 4, 12, 0, something like that. Oh, but I put that on the original state like a dummy. Let me get that out of here. So hover state is where I meant to be. 0, 4, 12, 0. And then we'll go back to original. Effects, transition, 0.2, ease in, out. And then I put that on the RV button primary class. So if we go ahead and save, then now we should have a little lift effect. That's actually extremely light. You can really barely see that. And somehow I messed up this button. Why would I? How's that possible? What did I do? Oh, I messed it up because I changed the font size there from 18. Is that what happened here? Yeah, so I guess, does this need to be bumped down to 16? I guess it does, in this particular case, to fit there. Yeah, weird. Okay, well, I think I actually do want to go make that box shadow effect a little bit more, what's the word, poignant? Something like that. So we'll save this. Taylor, welcome, welcome. Yeah, so that may be a little bit overbearing. I'll touch base with my designer on that, but that's actually usable, so you can see that something happens. I don't have a destination for these links just yet because it's going to go to like a third-party reservation system, but I did get asked, were we going to configure booking on this particular site? The answer is no, but we will in another stream that I'm going to do hopefully later next week for a different client entirely, but they will actually have a WordPress booking system, which will be really cool to configure together. And I think I'm going to use Amelia for that because I've tried a couple different booking plugins, and I think in this case, Amelia is going to be the ticket. Okay, so one thing I'm not exactly happy with is the way that there's all this extra space here. And I think it's because I set that div's width, whereas in this case, it fits pretty much all the way up. So let me think about how we should do this. So that image is exactly 560 by 560. Is this div just wider? I wonder. Trying to think here. 60. Oh, well, I guess there's actually more padding on that side because I did 40 over there and then there's 60 on the right, but maybe that's more to do with, I guess I already did that when I set the max width on that text element. So It's exactly half though, because if we look, it's taking up 740. How's that possible? So I guess what we'll do is instead of this background image, we're going to remove this one, and then I need to go get the actual larger image because that one was resized. I guess I see what's going on here. So we don't want this div to actually be 560. If we take off that width requirement, then it does fit perfectly in the middle, which is awesome. So let's see, I downloaded that somewhat recently. I think the image is like monumentally huge though. Is that the same photo? Looks like it's the same thing, but just in a flipped direction. Where did it go? Sorry, I didn't think about this. I guess what I'm going to do is just upload it because I do have Smush installed, so it's going to shrink it down to something reasonable. And we can adjust it later just for the sake of time. Normally what I would do is resize the images to fit perfectly in their little square for page speed, of course, but it will be fine in this case. It's 2 columns with 40 pixel gap, says Arthur. Perfect. Okay, I will adjust the gap here in just a second. But I see what you did with the image positioning. So let me go back to this div, and our column gap is 40. So then this div, did we go, I don't think 100%, oh, it actually does. Cool, so 100% works. And then our background will go to cover, and then we don't want all that garbage over there. This isn't the same image, I don't think. It looks really similar. No, it's not. Yeah, okay, so what if I go back to the one that we used earlier? Does it actually fit? It does. Okay, cool. So I just needed to make some slight adjustments there. So that's perfect. That is what we were after. Cool. So now, if we take a look, the only question is, do I need to take down some of this padding over here to make it fit? Because we added that 40 pixels, which I actually added as margin on that left div. So I guess I do, because we already have the gap there. So on this div, if we go to size and spacing, just essentially get rid of that. And then our 40 pixels is exactly where it should be. Cool. And then we're going to save that. Let's just take a quick look on the front end. There we go. Awesome. Arthur, I'd love your feedback on the hover box shadow that I added, just so that we have some sort of indication that, you know, it's a button. Obviously it looks like a button, but so that there's some sort of change to it. Stratus, I agree with you completely. He said, the more I use Grid, the more I think, how was I living without it? Completely agree with you. It's just so good. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our section here. Oh, not that one, this bottom one. And then we are going to get this, which I think I actually have already exported to my computer, but we're going to do it again anyway, just to be safe. So we have that background. And then we're going to add that as a background on our section here. Here we go. And then that is 720 pixels tall. So we're going to have to push that down. So does it go, is it negative? No repeat. 700. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're just going to have to play with the numbers a little bit and kind of push it down to achieve what we're after. Taylor says, add a slight right translate to the arrow when hover the link wrapper button. Yeah, that's a good idea. Not a bad idea. Now, to do that, we would have to do it on, like in a code block, correct? Or could you add your own selector? Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll come back to that. So this background, it basically cuts this div in half. So 350. Let's see. You can also find a hover color in mockup. It's a bit darker than the normal. Oh. So effects. Let's see. Where can I find the hover color? Is it assets? There should be a color palette somewhere, but I didn't know where it is. Oh, there's a box shadow right there. 044. Okay, I'm going to go switch that box shadow real quick because I want it to be exactly what the mockup said. So hover state 044, and then it was 25. So I was close, but not quite. Button color fill. I would put it in a style sheet because you'll need those buttons across your site. Good call, Elijah. I appreciate that. So it's in fill, but where's the hover one? Because it's that, correct? I guess I'm not sure where that hover variant color is. Liam says, if you used after on the background, you could then go position absolute bottom, height 50%. To center it halfway up. Okay. Yep, not a bad idea. It's probably more accurate than this because we're going to have to change that at every breakpoint since it's just pushed down with pixels. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll essentially get rid of this. Then we switch to the after state. Background image is this. But do you put anything in the content field? And then position. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's missing to make that appear there because don't you have to put something in this content field for the after? Last time we did just like the little, I don't know what you call it. The, that guy. And then it breaks the page. See, I did that last time and this is what happened where I put the little, I don't even know what the word is, but then it breaks this layout. So I'm not sure exactly whether that's my mistake or something else that I'm missing. I do like the idea that you're going down though, because I'd rather it position perfectly in the middle all the time and us not have to fight with it. Let's see, just to be consistent, you said position absolute bottom would be 0. So we have something in there, but then why does the content go wrong? Ringing, Elijah, Taylor, anybody? Ding, 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 ding. Just wondering if there's a way for us to achieve this, because the content. Because what if we type something in that's not that? So there it is down there. It's showing whatever I type in. Well, so Elijah, the suggestion was basically to use the after to add the background that we're adding right here so that it kind of positions it perfectly in the middle. But if I'm using it in the section, couldn't I do it in just the regular state? Maybe not. Oh, do you need width and height also? Maybe. Is it width 100%? Yeah, okay, cool. And then that image was 720. So, yeah, I agree with you, Elijah, that it seemed overly complicated, but yeah, so I'm going to get rid of the after state. So this background and then the top, oops, not 350. But don't you have to go like with something specific here, because you can't do the 50% because it just aligns it in the middle. So that's what I was working on here, was like 350, since the image is like 720 something, I believe. So it's not quite perfectly half. Well, let's see, it cuts off that, and then I need to add a background to this other div so that the background goes behind it. So real quick, let's go right here, and then I'm assuming that it was just white. So background color is white. And then we also have a really subtle effect over here. So this is what I'm assuming is essentially just going to be a border on the right of 8 pixels, and then this color, which is pretty cool. So let's do that real quick. I'm actually going to add a class for this because I see it's used in a couple different places. So RV div border right. We're going to go to border right, stick that color in there, and then let's make it a global color. So we'll just call this light, or RV light aqua. Then the width is going to be 8 and solid. And that should give us essentially what we're after, I believe. Yeah, it does. So it looks really nice when it kind of blends with that other effect down there. Is that kind of what it looks like here? It looks a little bit more lifted up off the page, so there must be that box shadow that we used from earlier. Let's see here. So I'm about to sneeze. I'm going to temporarily mute myself, I believe. Nope, of course not. I mentioned it, so now I'm not going to. Okay. So that box shadow, is that actually on here? That's called drop shadow here. Where's the actual numbers? 044. Oh, so it's the same thing, that 044. So let's go ahead and stick ourselves a class on this entire div. And I'm going to add a new one here. We're going to call this RV box shadow. So advanced effects, box shadow. Our shadow color was 0.25, and then 044. We'll just do 0 there. And that is what was giving us that lift effect, but it's not as blended. So it says it's black, 25%. It's almost like the blur. Oh, maybe I have the things wrong because it's set to blur for spread 0. Does that correlate exactly how I just had it? Let me go back to this. Oh yeah, okay. So it's right, but it just seems a little bit too bright. I don't know if you guys would agree with that. I'm gonna keep rolling here, and we'll adjust things on the fly if we need to. So this guy is 40 pixels of margin beneath it. So we're gonna make sure we have that div selected and not the class we just applied. We're gonna do another div, but I don't want it inside of that. I want it outside. This one is going to be 100% width once again. Then we're going to add another div, and Kyle says I'd make that blur like 40 instead of 4. Yeah, I kind of agree. It's not quite perfect, and for some reason the mockup, like the mockup has it super blended, and then it doesn't quite translate to the page here. So I agree with you. I'll go ahead and do that right quick. RV box shadow effects. So that is too much, but then what if I just took down the shadow color? That looks more like it. And then the vertical offset is 4, but I almost feel like there's no like vertical box shadow. Or is there? Yeah, not really. Also, oh, right, I know. What a pointless thing to have on stream. There's also, I just noticed a super subtle border around. So it's actually, I just was calling out this border right here, the right of 8. And then this right there is the same color, but just 1 pixel, it looks like. So that's actually pretty neat looking. Let me switch back over here, and we're going to go back to our border tab. I'm going to just make this simple and go all width 1 solid, and then on the right, we're going to switch it back to 8 to achieve basically the same thing. We're all taking a commission on joint effort of development. Yeah, you wish. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate all your help. That's why I love this format, like more than making regular videos, if I'm being perfectly honest. Just trying to find an interesting way to be able to do tutorial content when that pops up, and find that balance between like polished and not polished, or, you know, like casual and polished, but not like too much so, if that makes any sense. Now, you did your new border on the ID instead of the class. I actually don't have a class on this div. This one's just for box shadow. But what I was just about to say, you beat me to it, was that if these down here have that same border, then we do need to switch it to a class, which it looks like they do. They have that exact thing. Let's see. So I guess what I'm going to do is add a class called RV div borders. And we're going to go to borders. Again, we're just going to do the exact same thing we just did. So all sides will have a solid 1 pixel border, and then the right will have an 8. And I don't think that duplicates based on the ID. So we'll save. And now we were beginning the steps of doing that here. So it actually works out because we can just simply add that right there, and it's going to achieve the same thing. And then this once again has a white background, and it looks like, is our image roughly half? So it's 260. That's basically what I'm going to do. So we'll just go not on the class. I want to on the ID. Horizontal, we're going to stick in an image element. This one was a picture of the food. And then there was a bunch of spacing here, so 40 pixels. I'm just going to go with some margin on the right of the image, and I might end up changing this. So we're going to go with the heading. It's, oh, well, actually the beaches was first, not the restaurants, but that's okay. So this one's 28. I think that's our H3 class, which I used somewhere else. Pretty sure. Yep. So rest AU Ronts. Elijah, there we go. $5 more, please, brother. I appreciate it. Jake, hey, Jake, hey. All right, so text is once again going to be just some filler, which we had right here. So I'm just going to copy this, paste that in there. Now, of course, I actually do need to make an adjustment here. Copy this, or excuse me, wrap this heading with the div so that then it will stack like that. The button on the hero has a left white border. Yeah, Stratos, because this it has a white background, so it doesn't actually lift up. And then, so we can kind of play with the positioning here. Let's see, actually, how wide is this whole container? So it's 560, and then I'm assuming there's probably a 40 gap there. Yeah, so realistically, all we need to do is on this, we're going to go to grid, column count of 2, change our gap to 40 once again, and then let's center this stuff in the middle, or how is it right here? Well, it's kind of centered in the middle, but it's also because there's padding. So 26, 26, and 60. So we're going to take this, go 26 top and bottom, and then, oh, not 25, 26, and then 60. Then we're going to make this entire div's background white. And then did I already add the box shadow class? I did not. I think all of these have that same box shadow. They might not, but because it's in a class, it's going to be super simple to recreate that. And then now we're going to take the picture of the beaches and say white sand beaches. Perfect. So now I want to go take a look real quick on the front end. I think that box shadow is too bright, or too, I don't know what the word is, too vibrant, something like that. And we can adjust that in a second, but let's see. This lines up there, and then this image lines up with the button. Is that how it's supposed to be? Perfect. It's amazing when you have a good designer, what what someone like me can achieve. The box shadow is just so much lighter, so I am going to actually backtrack on that. I'm not happy with the way that box shadow looks. So effects, we're going to go back to 4 and just bump it back up to 25. We'll just keep it super subtle. Not really too worried about it. Oh, not inset. I always click that. I know Kyle and I talked about that recently. Okay, so right now it's coming along nicely. What time are we at? So 1 hour and 14. We're actually doing pretty good, I would say. So then we have this Our Partners section. Now this will actually be reasonably similar, but I think it's going to turn into like a recommended section because they're going to have like restaurant partnerships and that sort of thing. And we'll end up putting those restaurants' logos with like a brief description and a link to their website. So we will essentially just replicate this layout. So what I need to do is grab these images. So we will export these bad boys real quick. And then actually while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and export that image too. And that should be good. So we're going to export these. Got to unzip this. Close that. And then we'll switch back over here. So we're going to jump to an entirely new section. I'm going to collapse all of this section and then add an image just so we can get our stuff uploaded. Taylor says, are you going to use ACF options for the partners? No, because I will be doing a care plan on this website. So I'll be basically making all the changes for them. So Kyle, I appreciate you saying that once again. Like I said the other day, it totally means a lot coming from you. And the designer Arthur is in the chat here, I do believe. So I know it's late for him, so I'm really happy that he's here. I'm not sure what mistake I made here and why these exported with that green background. Maybe it's because... Oh, is there a fill? What if I just export that one image as a standalone? That's weird. Not sure why it did that. I guess it's because there's this fill on it. So if I take that off, then it goes back to the black. But if I export it again, I guess that's what I have to do real quick is take off this fill and then re-add it, which these photos are going to get swapped out anyway, so it's really not that big of a deal. Oh, Arthur's coming behind me to change it. We can see him. We can see him making those changes. He says he's going to fix it right now. Cool. Sweet. Okay, so I'm going to turn this stuff back on for him so he doesn't hate me. While he's doing that, I'm going to add this Our Partners heading. So this is the 48, and that we used right here for the H2. So what I'll do then is just simply duplicate this entire heading. We're going to drop down here and just change this to like recommended partners or something like that. Recommended. I got that wrong, Elijah. So I will allow you not to donate for that one. So hopefully you understand. Please forgive me. So we're going to use margin left and right auto to center this heading here. We already have our margin inherited from the class from earlier. Shay, it actually is extremely cool. Yeah, it's really, really neat to see it happening. And then we had some text underneath that, I do believe, right? Yeah, just some basic text here. Deducting $1. I'll send it to you on, I don't know, Venmo, I guess. Let's see, inspect. So we'll just copy this text. I want it to be really consistent here. So the font size is 20. And then let's take a look at how wide it actually is. So again, it's a max width of 500. So we'll go max width 500, margin left, right, auto. And then we will take the typography and center that. So it's perfect. Then we'll go ahead and add those images in just a second once Arthur is done. And there's 40 pixels right there. It's really neat to see him working. So I want to switch back over there and kind of watch this take place. Because obviously, like with me not designing this in Figma, I just kind of fumble through it to get what I need out of it. But being able to see someone like him work is just so cool. It's like, what is he even doing? It's so neat. So it's like a layer, I guess. There he's positioning it perfectly. Look at that. So cool. Really neat. Yeah, Kyle, I guess I did just totally put him on the spot. So I'm going to scroll down here and we're going to go ahead and pop in another section. So once Arthur's done with adjusting those images, we will switch back over to that. So this section is going to be a Google map. Yeah, honestly, he deserves it. He's fantastic. So this will be a Google map, and I think what we can do is kind of like in a previous Oxygen video that I made well, I don't know when it was. I was going to say a couple years ago, but it wasn't that long, maybe a year or two ago. We did like an overlay where you could kind of get colors on top of your Google map, and that's essentially what I'm thinking here, to have like a cool looking map pin instead of it being something boring like a little red dot. So what I'm going to do is actually take this site logo, which we'll use in a little bit as well, and export this bad boy. Close out my little bar down here, and then just thinking about how we're going to pull this off. So there's a nice border up there, which is what, 8, and then it's got that same green. So let me copy this. I think we already have this color, but I just want to go double check that we have the colors. Is that the same thing? Oops, that's the color name. It's a little bit lighter, so I'll just call this RV Green Light. Oops, not oat. We call it light like that. One thing I wish I could rearrange these. So like I wish I could push this color in the list, even though the ID doesn't change, because that's not really what matters to me. I just wish I could reorder these. That would be nice. So section, we're going to actually, so that we don't have to bother with all of the padding and stuff, let's just use a regular div. Div. Get it out. Of course, it's not going to let me do that. So what if I just delete this section, go back to my inner content, and go to div here? Yeah, the reorder and the rename would be super awesome. Taylor, yeah, I do have Core installed, but I don't use it on every single site, just in certain specific examples. So this div here, we have no padding on any of the sides. That menu in this mockup is full width, but, or excuse me, the Google map is full width, but I don't know that we'll actually want it to be that way. We want it to be kind of contained. Well, maybe we do want it full width. So what we're going to do is just stick in a map. We're going to set the address to Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, which is where this place is going to be roughly. Although this might, oh, not 100%. I want height, whatever it's going to be, width 100, and then a height of, we'll go with 300 pixels for now. Awesome, Arthur. Really appreciate that. Let me go ahead and snag those again. So we'll go ahead and take all those, export those layers, extract this, close. And so now we can go back over here. So let me think about how we want to lay this out real quick. So we're going to go with a div. Let me delete this image. This div is going to be 100%. Then inside of it, we're going to go with a div that will be PS partner divs will be our class name because we do have some styling to attach to this. So let's take a look real quick. So we're going to have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 of our lines here. So we're going to do a border right on all of them except the last one. So it's just 1, and it's that same one that we already have. So width of 1 on the right. So PS partner divs border right is going to be our lighter color with a width of 1, solid. And then what is our padding here? Oh, maybe the image is basically going to do it for us. So it's 19 pixels. So we'll just go 20 all the way around for now. And if we need to change it, it'll be easy because we have a class. So image. Oh, did I call that class PS? Whoops. That's not what I meant to do. I mean, I like Arthur more than myself, so I don't blame you guys. It's 20. Okay. So there is all of our logos. All right, so first up is gallery, then minimal, then music. Gallery. And then we're going to take, oh wait, this div right here. 19 pixels plus 1 for the border. Okay. I am going to add RV partner divs, and then we're going to duplicate that, and we're going to get rid of the PS class. So we want it to be 19 on that side to make it line up properly. And then we're going to duplicate this 5 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we got 6 now. So then this, we're going to switch to grid with a column count of 6. And then the gap is 20, I'm assuming, which is what Arthur said, which we've essentially achieved. But now I think we have like a double gap because I added the margin, or excuse me, the padding on this. So we really don't need any of that then, right? Because the grid is handling the gap for us. That's the way it works in my mind. That's what we're going with. Okay. So I'm just going to choose some of this. We'll go with CGS. And then we had that. Then minimal and music to close it out. Perfect. So here is another example of where we need to take a look at the grid as we start to go down in the screen sizes. So 1440, we actually already start to lose some of our logos here. So we'll go to grid, and then we only have 6. So we're going to go column count of 3. Probably still going to look good at 992. 768, we're going to need to drop it to 2. That looks pretty good. And then we are going to go for 80. Grid of 1. But now we don't really need the border on the right side here at this breakpoint on any of them. The lines won't be centered between logos with 20 pixel grid gap. Lines won't be centered between. Why not? So we're going to go border right none at this breakpoint because none of them need a border right. 768, those don't need it. Those 3. I wonder if it would be better just to use a class instead of doing it manually. So we had border right as a class. Oh wait, I could just do it to that class, can't I? Because we're at this breakpoint. So then, but that's not the class I want. Crap. What was it? Did I get rid of it? Well, first of all, I definitely don't need it on this div because that's the very last one. So this div block, we're going to go to borders unset, right? Isn't that how it's going to work? No, I guess I have to do it to that class. Or do I go border right none? There we go. That worked. And then 1440, we're going to go to border right. I'm just going to do this manually because there's not that much of it. Why didn't it work? Did I do it to the image and not the div? Like an idiot. Border, well, no, not the class, not the class. Right, none. There we go. Perfect. And then 992 is still good. 768. So then we need to go here to div. I'm going to do it to ID, border, right, none. And then same thing, div, switch to the ID, border, right, none. There we go. Cool. So, oh, dang it. I need to reapply it to this one. Border right, 1, solid, viola, voila. This one I want it to be centered here because it doesn't look very good. Oh, we need to adjust this. This looks terrible at that breakpoint. So let's go ahead and do that before we move back down to the map since we're on kind of a mobile train here. So this div, we are going to switch back here. 1440 is still good, roughly. 992 starts to get really crammed, so we're going to drop this to 1. And the 20 pixel grid gap is after the border, which is why it isn't centered between. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So this one, we definitely want to incorporate some padding here. And Arthur's been doing 20, and then I think it's been like 35 or something like that. I'm just going to go with 40 left and right, and if we need to make some adjustments, we can totally do that. Need to remove gaps and use paddings 20 pixels. Okay, we can do that with a class pretty simply. Now I'm going to set this to a height of like 320, and then we probably want to change this. I guess cover still works, but maybe we want it to be a bit taller than 320. That'll be fine. And then now we need to adjust this div here. So where are we at? 992. Well, first of all, we need to adjust these to stack instead of being side by side. And why didn't that work? Was it because did I use grid? Oh, I did it on the ID. So I'm going to get rid of that and go back to the div borders and set that to horizontal like that. And then I need to adjust it on this div here. Take that away, and then it's going to stay horizontal because it's now set on the class. But div borders. Oh wait, no. I don't want it there. I need a new class. No, I'm not going to worry about that. I don't care about having a class on this, to be perfectly honest. So then 1440 doesn't look good at all, so we're going to set this to vertical. I want my image here to be 100% width if I can. I don't think that's really going to... I guess it looks okay. Not the best thing ever. We'll do 20 pixels all the way around. And basically all I'm doing at this point is getting this site functional. Because like I mentioned at the beginning of this stream, this company's property isn't even built yet. So all we really want to do is get a proof of concept up, visible at this point. So that at least makes it fit. And then 992, 768 starts to get very crammed right here. Did I use grid? I did. So now we just need to go 768. We're going to change this to grid column count of 1. And now everything fits just fine. I wonder at this, so our button still fits there. Why is it collapsing to 2 lines on this particular one? I guess it's to do with maybe the padding. Yeah. So if I set it back to horizontal, it still doesn't quite fit there. Thank you for hanging out, Stratos. See you next time. Let's see. I delete images and use them as the text background. Let's see. Why is this one collapsing? I think it's just the padding on this particular div. Although, I guess I don't need the border on this div at this screen width, because then you essentially have it not lining up. So I'm going to fix that real quick. So it looks fine there. And then at 992, once it collapses, then it starts to go wonky. So let's go to border right, and we're going to set that to none. So now it actually lines up. And then how does that impact our button when it starts to shrink? So that didn't make any difference, unfortunately. I wonder... Well, I guess then my only option here is to drop the font size at this screen width, right? Because I set it to 18, I'm pretty sure. Oh, no. Oh, that's not making any difference. Did I set it on this class? I did. So it's already at 16. So if I do that, then I'm going to have to make it like 14, which isn't 16 the minimum? Use 16 padding for button and width 100% to solve it. Okay. So what I did earlier was that, which I pulled from the mock-up. 48. So Arthur, are you just saying reduce the padding at that screen width? So like at 768, we would just go like 16 or something? And then I had a class here for full width, like that. Cool, okay. So I don't know if that's exactly what you meant, but that is totally functional. That worked great. Okay, so all I did was just reduce the left and right padding and add that full width class, which is super awesome. Now, you did say 16, so just to be consistent, and restrict max width also. So that's what that full width class is giving me is 100%. You're saying set that to max width. But yeah, I see what you're talking about. So I'm going to get rid of full width because we don't want it to be full width there. And then 992, 768. You're saying max width of 100%. Yeah. That's good enough for now. It at least functions. That's all I'm concerned about for the moment, but we'll come back and fix that. So we got these images there. And then next up is this Google Maps thing. So one thing I'm realizing is on a typical Google Maps element from Oxygen, which I will want to do because it will have the Google Maps business listing with all of their reviews. We do want that. So I'm wondering, do we just end up using that overlay? Just trying to think about this. So here, we have this super nice overlay on top of the map, which maybe you could do if you did some API mumbo jumbo, but all I really am going to do is just overlay this image right on top of it. So I guess we could just sort of cover up that red pin. So yeah, let's just play with this a little bit. This is 480 pixels tall, and right now I have it set at 380. Okay, so width, I'll go fix that real quick. So all devices on our RV button primary, we have width is 100%, and then max width of 360. Oh, I see what you're saying. So then now, that's there. And then I changed this padding, so can I get rid of that? No, I guess not. And then 480. So at 480, there's a slight issue with that, but couldn't I essentially just add some margin underneath that arrow? But I see what you're saying. That does actually work really nicely. Didn't really consider that. Okay, back to this real quick. What I wanted to do is set this div itself to 480 high. And then we're going to set the Google Map. I think we can just do 100%, right? Yeah, that's perfect. That's what I want. And then I don't know if there's any issues with us like overlaying an image on top of the Google Maps. They might not be, like Google might not be too happy with that, but I'm honestly not quite sure. Paul says you got to leave, catch up later. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Let's see. What was I going to do here? So we're going to need to set another div, and this one we're going to use the layout of absolute, and then it's going to be 0, 0 all the way around. Then we're going to go back to our wrapper div here that has our Google Maps inside of it. Set that to a layout of relative. So now this other one should fit right inside of it nicely. I'm going to center it vertically and horizontally. I'm going to stick in, let's see. Actually, I think I'm going to have to use another div because these I don't think exported as one singular unit. So we're going to do another div, and then its background is going to be this arrow. And then I didn't get the logo from earlier, so there's that. How big is this? It is 200 wide by 234 high, basically. Whoops. What did I say? 200 by 233. I'm not listening to myself. There we go. 233. It's like slightly off center. Why is that? Do I need to change the background positioning? Or am I crazy, or is that off? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the stuff underneath it that's making it look kind of weird. And then inside of this, it's 35 left and right, 43 on the top. So 35, 35, 43. And then there's something like 60 underneath it. 76 technically. I'm not sure if we need that just yet, but we'll add that as 76. We're going to stick an image element inside of there. And then I don't think I exported this logo, or did I? I did twice apparently. So we're going to take that over here. And there we go. Perfect. So that is exactly what I wanted. So now if we go take a look on the front end, then we have the Google Map, and this is actually like pretty close to what to where the place physically will be. I think it's actually a little bit further to the west, but it's it just looks so much better, and then we can make this link to their actual Google Maps listing when we get to that point. So that is perfect. Now we did have a couple more things on this div. There was a border on the top of that green color, which was, oh, not all sides, whoops, on the top, which was 8 solid like that. And then that looks like it was about it. So now we're ready to move into this div. Although I think we would want this one to be in our template, because that's essentially going to be part of the footer. Yeah, definitely. So I think we're pretty much at a point where our homepage is looking good. I wanted to double check how this looks on mobile as we start to shrink a bit. So 992, 768, and 480. Perfect. Stays exactly where we need it to. So that's a super cool trick that if you guys want to sort of position stuff on top of something else, you just simply take your parent div there, change the layout to relative, and then the content that you want to be wherever, on top of it, just take that div, go to layout, and then just set it to absolute and put 0 pixels in all 4 corners. So that's neat. And I'm going to chop that and make a little video out of it. So really the only other thing that we need to take a look at here is our template. So we're going to try to recreate this header right here, or excuse me, this like pop-up menu. And then the other thing, of course, is the footer, like we were just discussing. So we'll go ahead and get to those. Bradbury, good to see you. I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be right back. So let me switch some stuff around over here, and I'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, and we're back. Hopefully you guys all got up and walked around a little bit. Get your blood flowing, get off the computer. I keep peeking out my window here and realizing it's such a nice day. I want to get my work done and get outside. And hopefully you guys have fun stuff planned for this weekend. I'm going to be offline going camping, so that'll be pretty fun. Before we get back rolling again, I just wanted to shout out Elijah Mills for being the one and only donation today on the stream. Really, really appreciate that. Just blows me away, the generosity of you guys donating anything at all. So I appreciate that. Yeah, Elijah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I got up and walked around and scarfed down a muffin real quick, and then, got the blood flowing. So anyway, let's see. So now we are pretty much ready to switch over to our main template and attack this menu, which I think we'll be able to do. Not allowed out because Boris won't let. Oh man, that's just so bummer. I feel for you guys. I'm laughing not at you, obviously, just in whatever the word is. I feel your pain. I feel your pain for sure. So the only challenges I think with this menu, I say only, there's probably going to be plenty of challenge, is going to be this arrow for the active, which I think is going to require JavaScript, which I've looked into before and wasn't able to immediately find a solution. And then this little path guy, so that's going to be interesting. But overall, I think the functionality will be pretty straightforward. Jay Barrios Visual says, do you stream designs you are building for clients or just fictional sites? So trying to think. Pretty sure every stream I've done so far has been for real clients, I think. Except one. There was one that wasn't for it. But yeah, almost all of them are for real clients. And this one is a real client job. So they typically are pretty functional. In fact, Boris says we're allowed to look out of our windows next week. Sorry, guys. It's miserable, I know. All right, so let me go back over here. We're going to save and just get out of Oxygen on this page. And now we're going to go over here to our all pages template and edit this bad boy. So I'm hoping that we can just simply overlay that little menu icon and the logo. Although we're going to have to make some changes to this home section. I'm trying to think about how to do this because we added this background image that you're looking at now to the section on the home page, but we need to get the menu and the logo overlaid on top of this. So maybe what we do is add some extra padding above this, above that heading right there, and then we just use a div with a transparent background that will contain the logo and the menu. That kind of seems like the best solution. Something like that. Jay Barrios says, oh, very nice. That's awesome. I've been enjoying them. And even the replays of the streams when I do web design, it's like someone working next to me. That's so awesome. I'm really glad you like it. And Heinrich with the 10 euros. Thank you so much. It's fantastic. I love the visual, and I definitely recognize you. You've been, a participant in the channel and on the course and all that kind of stuff for a long time. So I really appreciate that. The generosity is amazing. Jay Barrios, it's really interesting you mention it's like somebody working next to you in the co-working space. So I used to have one of those right before COVID. I had it for like 2 years and it was fantastic. I would go there every day. I'd drop my son off at school at 8, pick him up at 3. So every day from basically 8:30 until about 2:30, I knew I had this dedicated time, and that's where I would just crush client work. And for a long time, I kind of thought I didn't need an office, that I could work from home and be just as productive. But there's something like in the mindset for me, I'm kind of rambling. Hopefully this isn't boring to you guys. There's something in the mindset of like being able to just know that this is work time and this is the workspace, whereas working from home kind of convolutes that a bit for me. So at some point in the future, I'll probably get that co-working space again. So Heinrich, I will definitely be able to get a couple of beers for that price. In fact, it will probably buy some beers for the camping trip this weekend. So I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. So now let's go ahead and attack this menu. So we have our inner content, and we're going to start off with a div, of course, change this tag to the header, and then we're going to stick this above the inner content. Let's go ahead and just leave it as is for now, because I do think we're going to need to change the spacing. So I don't want to cause too much overlap issues for the moment. I'm just trying to think out loud here. Let's see. If we go back over to the mockup, we have our logo, and then I'm just curious how that relates to this. So I'm sure this menu button is exactly on line with that. And then this is 114 pixels tall. How big is the image that we uploaded earlier? 114. Oh, it's exactly the right size. Perfect. So we're going to stick that in there. And actually, let's just go ahead and change this div's background color to the green so we can see it. I don't think that's the right green. We're going to use whatever one this one is. So it's the 038783, which I do believe is the second green color. Okay, so we're going to switch that real quick. So background is that. Perfect. Let's see. Cool. Well, yeah, that's super awesome. Oh, also I need to do one thing so we get everything kind of aligned in our container here. I'm going to add in another div inside of this one that is going to be a width of 100%, and then our max width will be 1440. And then we'll stick our image inside of that. We don't need this little text element. And then we are going to set our kind of parent container here to center so that then it pushes this stuff to be in the same line. Now, actually, this is something that I meant to address earlier and kind of forgot, but I did mention. We used sections on almost all of these containers. And so what that's done for us is stick 20 pixels. Oh gosh, there's something going on here with that box shadow. We got to fix that. That is not how it's supposed to look. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is you can see that this is on the far left edge of our page container, and we have some padding there that's coming from our sections. And because we didn't change the default section padding, what we could do is essentially just go to our global settings and our sections and columns. I am just going to change this to 0 left and right. It'll be an easy fix if we need to change it, but now if we save, refresh that, then everything is perfectly aligned on that left edge, which is great. Now, of course, we do also have a lot more spacing up above this. So how far is it from the top of the page? It's 40 pixels. So on this div, let's see, which one should we do? I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll just go with 40 top and bottom here. And then now what we're going to do is add in another div. This one is going to become our menu button here. So this has our 038 color, which actually we'll need to change our div background that we already just set, because otherwise we're not going to be able to see that. And then we have the hamburger icon, which is just those 3 lines. A part of me just wants to export that and that be our little menu trigger, but that's probably not the way to do it. Try to think. Andre says you could use a section instead of the div for the header to have the padding match the rest of the site. Removing the padding completely leaves you with the content to be too wide on smaller devices. That is true. I didn't think about the implications of how that's going to behave on mobile. We have just enough padding there. So not a bad thought. Or I could just add the 20 pixels to this. I'm just going to do that for now to make it nice and simple. I'm just going to go 20 left and right, make everything line up. So just like everything in Oxygen, there's a million ways to achieve the same end result, and this is an example of that. So now I'm going to take this div, I'm going to set the layout to horizontal, and then I'm going to set it to space between. Now our menu is top aligned with this logo, so I don't need to set it to middle or bottom for vertical. I'm just going to leave it exactly as is because it's already at the top. I am going to go with an icon here, then a linear icon. I think it's just called menu. Yes, it is. I remember this from the Permaslug site and every other site that I ever do. And then now, how much padding do we have around this stuff? Let's take a look and see real quick. Oh, maybe it won't. I guess that's all one standalone element. So I'm just going to assume it's 20. So we're going to go 20 all the way around. Oh, if I can click the little apply button, there we go. So that works. And then let's go ahead and change this to a slightly different color, because that way we can actually see the background on this. If we just change it to something slightly more opaque for the time being, then we're going to set this div to have a background of that, and that's what it's supposed to look like. And then once the menu overlays, then of course that will sort of be combined with the actual menu content, which should be pretty cool. So now, oh, wrong thing. I meant to go to the mockup. Let's zoom out, and we're going to go back to this. So what I'm picturing is when you click that little hamburger button, we have a div that basically takes up this full section height, and I guess it would be maybe even 100 VH almost. And it's going to have just a fade in from the, I guess it's right. I always get those confused, the fade in left and right. And then we just have some links and the phone in the bottom. So let's go ahead and create a div. I am going to go, trying to think, this might be a little bit tricky. How are we going to get it to overlay on top? I guess I'm just going to go ahead and add in another div here, which is going to be the actual menu container itself. So let's just give this a class. We'll call this RV menu menu slide. Yeah, we'll call it menu slide. And then we're going to just give this one a class to make it consistent. So we'll call this one RV menu trigger. So then this is going to have our dark background color again. And then we need to, I guess, position it absolute right 0. And then is it top 0? Then we want to set this to a height of 100%, but we need it to go outside of the bounds of this container. Oh wait, I guess it already is. We just couldn't quite see it because of Z index. There we go. Okay, so 100%. And then how wide is it? So this guy is 440, which I'm assuming we'll probably have to adjust as our screen size shrinks. And then first up, we have the menu icon that changes to an X, but actually we don't even really need to do any trickery there to change it to an X, because the menu like trigger icon behind it won't actually be visible. Although this, I'm essentially going to be replicating like the tooltips that we did, but there's not a close trigger. Do we do a modal instead of trying to make this its own thing? Maybe that's the ticket, because let me look at a modal real quick. Because if we go, we can set the trigger, which would be that hamburger. And then our content styles, we have all the layout controls. We have a closing trigger. And then I kind of feel like that's the better bet, because we can change the width, we can position it on the right, we can set the height. I think that's the way we're going to go. So this modal, we're going to just basically bump up right here. So then this div we actually don't need. I don't know how I just broke my entire layout by doing what I just did, but I did. Is it the modal height, I guess, that's breaking it? It's not happy about that. Let's go with live preview. So that's what we're going to do. So our width, I always get confused. I always go to content styles looking for the width of the modal, but I need to go to modal styles. So was it 420? Is that what I said it was? 440. So 440 pixels. The modal won't let you add a slide animation easily. I guess maybe we could do like a fade in or something instead of it being a slide transition. I'm not super hung up on like what the transition is, to be perfectly honest. Just that it has something instead of it just, you know, appearing out of nowhere. So then this background will be that guy. I do kind of like the fact that it sort of offsets the background and makes it have that slightly darker color behind it. So I think that's a little bit too dark though. What do you guys think? 50%? I don't know. I guess it does draw your attention very clearly. We won't worry about that for now. So then let's go with an icon. We're gonna change this to like a close. Font Awesome one to me doesn't look very good. Exit. It's not called close. What is it? Is there just an X? Of course it's not called close, exit, or X. What is it called? Some sort of close icon here. It's called across. Oh my lord. Okay. So we'll make that white. And then we're going to position this guy absolute, maybe 25, 25, something like that. And then that one is going to be good as it is. Then we're going to add another div here that's going to contain these menu links that will be sort of centered. What's times? I see you guys talking about that. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying, like times like multiply. Yeah. Okay, so that's good. Let's stick in another div here. Oh, for Font Awesome, it's times. Okay, I want to look at that real quick. Yeah, those just don't look very good to me. I very much appreciate the suggestion, but I think the linear icons one looks better. So this div, let's actually, what would be the best way to get it in the middle? Because we're going to have a second one underneath it that will have a slightly darker color. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my text links in here, and then that way we can kind of play with the positioning. I'm thinking about it a little bit. So RV menu links is what we'll call this guy. Let's take a look at our styling here. So it's uppercase. We do have that same 36% letter spacing, which we pretty much found out is about 4 pixels. It's size 16, regular, and then it's Prata. So our font is going to be Prata. Text color is white. Typography is uppercase, letter spacing of 4. And then font weight was the regular, which is 400 in this case. And then our font size was 16, but I think I'm going to leave it, unless we have a problem, at the default, which is 18. So I'm just going to make this one home. And there's not a whole lot of pages on this site just yet, so I'm going to manually create these links. And then the text links, let's see, how much spacing do we have? 48, quite a bit, because this menu is so tall. So text links margin is 48. Duplicate that a couple of times. I'm just going to make some stuff up here. Well, actually, these are probably pretty accurate. So amenities, resort, contact, book, amenities, resort, map. Let's do contact and then book now. And I'm not going to worry about actually linking them to the proper places just yet. So then this div, we are going to right align, and then it's definitely not pushed up against the side like that. So there's 72 pixels there. So let's rename this just so we can be clear here that this is our link container. So there's 72 pixels like that. And then with our modal, do we just want to go with a vertical item middle? That doesn't work. What if we go margin top auto? That doesn't work. Crap. Why doesn't that work? Oh, it's because I didn't set the layout child elements. Whoopsie. And then right, like that. So if I leave this as middle, then do I actually need my link container to have that margin auto? Oh yeah, I guess I do. Okay. And then was there any sort of opacity on these? Doesn't look like it. So with the active, we have this arrow that pops up, but I don't know, like I've already mentioned a couple times, how to do this without JavaScript. So if any of you guys have some insight on that, I would certainly appreciate how to achieve that active. Because realistically, what I would like is for the little arrow to just fade in when you hover over it, or excuse me, when you're on that active page, I guess. So forget the fade effect. That's going to be more the little squiggly line. And earlier, Elijah mentioned something about this path for the hover effect here on this little guy. Yeah, that's what I thought, Andre. You need some JS for that little hover icon. Or not the hover icon, I keep saying that. We need JS for the that arrow. Oh, you know what you could do? Talking about a crude way. you could totally use a condition in this particular case. You could have an arrow next to every single like link, and then the condition just checks if the current page is equal to whichever one it should be. So you could totally do that, but that obviously is not going to be an ideal solution if you have a larger menu. So active class. Okay, Taylor, I'm checking Discord. Let's see. All right. So the class is active. So then am I just basically sticking this arrow next to all of them? Admin bar represent. Yay. Nice. Is Kyle still in here? I haven't seen him chit chat in a little bit. Hopefully he is. So let's see. I'm trying to think. I kind of like my janky way of no extra code to put some arrows next to the text links and then use the conditions for it. The only problem is I don't have the pages set up for all of these just yet, so it won't quite work. But we could test it out with like the contact page and, you know, something basic like that. Like I mentioned. All right. Should we go the JS way or should we go the condition way? I guess it's essentially the same thing, is it not? Well, the thing with the arrow display none would be that it would still actually exist like in the code, even though it's not that big of a deal. But with the condition, it wouldn't even be output on the page. Let's just go ahead and I guess I should have used link wrappers instead of text links, but we'll just go with the little div action here. And I'm going to do PS header links wrapper. I keep doing PS. Good Lord. RV. Header links wrapper. And then horizontal. Then we're going to go to space between. JS could be deactivated in the browser, so the condition is the cleaner way. Yeah, and it's simple enough. So let's go with this icon. And we're going to call this RV header links icon. Taylor, I appreciate your thing in Discord for sure, buddy. change it to white. Icon size is going to be way smaller. And then arrow. Oops, not 4 R's or 3, whatever I did. Arrow, linear, right. Switch that around. And then we're going to add, let's say 16 pixels of margin. I bet that's what Arthur did. He did actually 20 in this case. So we'll do 20 like that. And then essentially this icon is just going to get a condition. In this case, it needs the post title is equal to home, or you could do the, page ID, like the post ID. So then div, Simon says, this is so cool. I've never watched someone build a website in real time and think out loud. I'm glad you like it. The consensus is that people, including yourself, lots of people, everybody that's here really likes this. And I actually do too. I think the engagement is really fun and interesting. Yeah, so anyway, I completely agree. Taylor says, in this case, condition is better, but for bigger menus, and this only really works on text links since it adds a class to the link itself. Gotcha. Well, this is kind of cool. This is just utilizing the functions that Oxygen gives us to great effect for something really cool like this. So let me make sure I have everything situated here, because what I was going to do to make this really simple is just delete these links and then just duplicate this out. I think we had 6 total ones. So then this was, let's see, amenities, and then resort map, and then contact and book now. Thank you, Kyle. I really appreciate that. Just shout out to the admin bar, and Kyle, if you guys aren't a part of that community and you don't subscribe to the admin bar on YouTube, you definitely need to go do that. Kyle, I watched part of the video that you shared before the live stream started today on, oh, what's it called? The Friday emails. That's something I really need to get into, and something I've been wanting to figure out for a while. My brain immediately jumps to how to automate that. So maybe that's not the point though. Maybe it's better to be more organic. I only got about 15 minutes into that video, so I need to watch the rest of it, but that was really cool. Also, Kyle, you and Matt need to pick back up the Admin Bar podcast, because I would love to watch those. So just a little poke and a prod to get you guys back on that. Okay, so then the only other thing we have to do is basically adjust these conditions so that the post title is equal to the correct one. And then basically the contact, we do actually have a contact page on the site. None of the other ones exist quite yet. And the book now is actually going to be a completely separate site, because in this case, they have like a whole booking system that's on like a separate URL. So that might not work. Andre, I got caught red-handed last time I shared the YouTube page, but I swear I watch them on my phone. Usually I'm like laying on the couch and I just have my phone. Especially for podcasts, I'll just lay it on my chest and just chill on the couch. Also, I gave you guys just now a nice shot up into my nose. Hopefully it's all clean. Okay, so next up, I'm getting distracted here. Next up, we need to go ahead and set up this guy down here. So this is just going to be another div that has that slightly different color, and it has our phone number, which looks super good. So that is essentially the menu that we've built so far, although I need to give some consideration to the, well, no. What we could do is our link container here. If we just go ahead and let's see, let me think about this. Let's take off this margin auto here. We are going to wrap this guy with another div, and then this one is going to be auto. Then we're going to set this height to actually, no, we don't want the margin bottom auto, because, oh shoot, that's not what I meant to do. Why is it scrolling with me? Oh, it's because it's the modal setting. Where is it? Trigger content. Modal styles. Where's the option to turn off scroll? Oh, it's because I'm in live preview. I'm a dummy. Sorry, y'all. I was trying to think about the scrolling here. What kind of load does this approach put on the server? Not much. This is just a super basic modal. Taylor, it definitely is hard because, I mean, these are the conversations I'm having inside of my head. So I'm just trying to like relay these out into person. So I was on a train of thought here before I got distracted with the modal. So we have our link container inside of this div. So I think inside of this one, I need to add one more, which is basically going to be our phone button. This phone button, I guess I got to stop scrolling. This phone button width will be 100%, not 1900, Jonathan, good Lord. 100%. Maybe this isn't going to work actually. Add a div after the link container, set the modal spacing to space between, and give the link container margin top and bottom of auto. Yep, perfect. So I am on the right track. So let's see, and give the link container margin top and bottom of auto. If I do bottom of auto though, it's going to push it up, right? Or are you saying that I just have to come up with basically like 50 VH or whatever? And then this guy needs to be 100%. It needs to be right aligned. And then there is that right there. This will be good. And then our background color, I don't actually think we've set yet. 01862. Number 49 needs to be removed. Oh, so you're saying you're just like this basically. So get rid of 49 and then phone button will go, oh, here's that pesky drag and drop. What about if we just set this to an absolute bottom of 0 and then this modal layout, can it be relative or is that going to break the whole thing? I think this is working. I kind of took what you said, and actually it is sort of working, because if I take this button, now I can paste in this background color that I copied just a minute ago. Oh, wait. Did I use the wrong color for this one? So that one's the 007. Whoops. So what is the difference here? So our background color is set to PVR green light. Oh, okay. So I had the wrong global color here. So there we go. So now this div, I do need to make it however tall this one is, which is 180. So we're going to go to div height 180. Did you set the modal to space between? I actually don't know. No, I actually just did middle. And then all that I did on this particular div that wraps the links is just set, wait. Yeah, I just did middle. And then this bottom one is set to, well, absolute actually isn't going to work, right? Because the layout. Yeah, because it looks like there's an even amount of space between this link. I wish there was like a ruler. There's like a ruler tool because I want to be able to just drag right here. So I guess that's 348. And that one says 240. So there's more spacing down there than there is on the bottom. Take space between and add margin top and bottom of auto. Yeah, isn't that? I mean, I essentially did that a little bit ago and it was mostly working. And then this one, this link, I don't need the margin on the bottom of that. Oh, but I have it in the wrong spot. Where is it? On the text link? Yeah, there it is. So margin bottom. Elijah says flex grow and flex shrink might make stuff easier here. Okay, yeah. So that may be what we're after here. So if I remove that, Ah, good call. Good call, Andre. So that looks more like what we're actually after. So then what we're going to do is just center vertically and horizontally this particular button. We're going to add a link wrapper. This is going to be horizontal. Stick in an icon element. I wish I could do keyboard over. If I've searched icon, like I pressed right arrow key hoping to get to the icon, but I can't do that. Change that to white. In fact, actually, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to change the link wrappers typography to white so that I don't have to set it manually. Taming says, just want to check on the logistics of the stream. Do you tell the client that you would be doing it live? Do you share a link? Does the client give the go-ahead based on Figma? Yes. Yes is the answer to all of your questions. I definitely touch base with them, but also every client that I've asked doesn't care because, I mean, their business is getting exposure. This one isn't even built yet, so it's not anywhere close to being open. What phone icon was it? It was it's like an outlined one. There it is. So it's a linear icon. And then Arthur has been doing either 16 or 20 pixels to the right of the icons. So I want to just stick with that for now. And then 850 is our area code. I don't know what the phone number is just yet, so I'm going to stick with that. And then this one is Oswald Light 24 with 4-letter spacing. So that's already is Oswald 24 300 letter spacing of 4 like that. I would be a customer if they didn't. You can just come park in my driveway. You don't have to pay for that, buddy. And then how wide is this whole thing? So that's 256 plus that. So it's 20, so like 275. So let's go link wrapper, width of 100, and then a max width of 275. And then we would typically go with like a telephone number here. So I'm just going to go 850-555-1234. So that looks good. Now, the only thing I haven't done so far is set our modal close. So if we look in here, the closing says elements with Oxy close modal will act as a close button. So all we need to do is add that class to this Oxy close modal. Cousin Eddie, hell yeah, brother. Come on down. I don't really have a place for you to dump your your black waste, but there sure is a sewer nearby. Okay, so if we click, oh, I didn't set the trigger. Whoops. So our modal trigger, we need to turn this to inline so we can actually see this here. So our trigger is going to be user clicks element, will be this whole guy right there. And this is definitely kind of a broken layout at the moment. So I could realistically move my modal outside of this div here. I don't think it's actually going to make that big of an impact on the real layout based on where it is in our structure panel. So if we refresh, click this, then there's our modal. Yes! That actually was way easier than I thought it was going to be. The only consideration I need to make right now is just this close button. Probably need to push it in more. We positioned it absolute so we can just add some, padding on those sides. But if we click our X there, then it goes away. That actually looks super good. Super good. I love that. So then let's go back here. Icon, ID. I was wondering if there's a different way to position it other than with pixels. Can I do percentage? Yeah. Wait, did that actually work? Well, I think it's 60 pixels of padding on the right there, so I want it to be pretty much in line. Oh, it's 72. That's why it was slightly off. So we're going to do, wait, where'd it go? It layout, so 72 there. So it's on the right edge with this stuff here. Perfect. And then I think it looks good there. Let's go ahead and take another look on the front end just to be sure. Perfect. So now that's actually visible. I don't know if it will be all that visible on mobile, but let's take a look. Yes, that looks so good because we have to account for the fact that the admin bar won't be there. Every time I say the admin bar now, I realize how fantastic a name the admin bar is for a Facebook group and like a YouTube channel around WordPress. I wish I was that smart. So now, the only thing is that our conditions... Oh, right. The conditions aren't working because I didn't set these. So I am actually going to switch these real quick so we can kind of see what it will look like in a real use case. So eventually there will be a page called Resort Map. And we did it to contact, and then book now actually will never show up, to be honest, because there won't be a book now page on this actual site. But if we go refresh, now then our menu icon is going to show which page you're actually on. Let's see. The contact page. Oh, the link doesn't work. What did I do? Did I not set it? Also, I just realized we have a small hiccup with the actual link elements. Well, no, we don't. Never mind. Forget what I was saying. That one is set to home. We're going to go /contact here, save this, and just double check that our modal arrows are working. So right now we're on the home page. Then if we switch over to contact, there is of course nothing right now on the contact page, but we do have our arrow there. Let's go, y'all! Woo! This kind of stuff makes me so excited. I love doing stuff like this. And it's like literally nothing on this site that you see has required even one line of code. Absolutely amazing. So cool. No CSS, no JavaScript, nothing. Thank you, Oxygen. So let's see. Trying to think what else. The only other thing is the squiggly line underneath our text links. And to be perfectly honest, I am not 100% sure how we're going to achieve that. And then we need to actually position it on top of our header properly. Let's see. Well, first of all, we can get rid of a lot of this padding here. Let's drop this to like 10, make it a bit cleaner. And then squiggly line. Oh, squiggly line in my eye. Why? I can't remember what that line is. There's like a Family Guy where Stewie sees the squiggly line in his eye. So if this is a path, what if we exported this as an SVG? Trying to think. If we exported it as an SVG, then how do we make it show up on hover? Is that going to be... Huh. This is a tricky one. So I don't quite understand the like after and before pseudo. But I'm feeling like that's going to be the ticket, because essentially I'm also thinking about whether we could add a code block that when you hover over that class, it makes that path appear, but I'm not sure how you make it trigger underneath that. Background to the div on hover. That could work. You'd have to use like an image. Let's see. In order to show it on hover, you assign class to the container and hover class. Yeah, I'm just talking about like where specifically we need it to show up and how we want to do this to make it like as simple as possible. After is the key. Yeah, Elijah, you were saying that earlier. So are we going to apply like an after border? Link wrapper, hover dot squiggle. I love it. That's definitely what we're calling that thing, is dot squiggle. Okay, so then the question is, Gosh. The question is where. Export the squiggle and set it as the background image of the after pseudo on the link wrapper. So I don't think I want it to be there. Or do I? Trying to think. On the link wrapper. Okay, so after background, I think I already had the squiggle. Oh, no, I didn't. PNG, because I don't have safe SVG. Path.png, there it is. Yeah, Andre, I was kind of thinking the text as well, but I was hoping maybe that would work because I wouldn't mind it to be there for everything. Let's see. So after layout, display, look, give it a background image. Yeah, so it has the background image, so we're good there. And then don't you have to have a width set? That broke some stuff, which is pretty cool. Let's see. So the problem we ran into earlier with what we were trying was that, of course, when I stuck something in the content, then it broke that layout. So just not quite sure. Width 100% and height probably as well. And then height, I don't know, 20. There it is. So then we need to position our element a bit more. So first of all, design with Kraka, good to see you here. And then this is set as the background on that. And then you can set the text link to a flex direction of column. Okay. Yeah, so I think I want to take it off this div. So I am going to get rid of this after, and then we're going to go back to the text link, go to after, background. I'll probably switch this to SVG later, but this is okay. So width 100%, and then the height, we did like 5 pixels or something, right? 5. Use specific height in pixels. Okay, I got that. So then we have the background, we have the height and the width. So what are we missing at this point to make it actually appear? Usually on CSS, you do container hover.childclass. Uh-oh. Just rip water all over my lap and on my daggum t-shirt. I mean, on my daggum telephone. Set it to display block. Okay. There we go. Andre, yeah, you were saying give it a specific height and then you set the text link to flex with the flex direction of column. I want to try both real quick and just see. Flex direction of column works as well. So then for our after, oh wait, but I need to do that flex direction, not the, oh, right. Yep. So take that back off and then original flex direction of column. Yeah, so then the after state height, let's see, I think it was 8 pixels high. It's actually 6. So there is our squiggly, but it looks cut off. There we go. So if it's 8 pixels, then it actually works. Cool. So now, then what do you do to make the squiggly only appear on hover? And I think we probably want it to be on this whole, well, no, probably just the text link, because that's the only part of it that's actually linked. So we have our squiggly. And then, yay! Thanks, everybody. So what now? To make it actually appear on hover. So we're going to go RV menu links. Is it hover after or something like that? Or what are we actually going to do? That's the only question that I have at this point. Real quick, I just want to go admire our handiwork on the front end. That looks sick. And it's so cool because that part of the squiggly bit is linked as well. I just love it. Hide it first, then add a hover after state to the parent. So, okay, so then that with CSS, we're going to have to do with code block, right? Because you can't add that stacked, like hover after in Oxygen, or can I add a selector that would be hover after? So just to visibility, hidden, opacity 0. Oh, you can. You can add hover after. You can add hover state in the states drop down. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. All right. All right. So do I need two? No, just like that. So dot hover after. So then we would get rid of it here in the after state. Or no. I see what you're saying. So in after, it would be opacity of 0. And then, oh, do you have to go back to hover after like that? That's kind of weird. And then effects, opacity of 1. To display on hover, set the opacity to 0. You can add a custom state. So I changed it back to full opacity, and it doesn't seem to want to work. Is effects opacity 0 not the right? Oh, there we go. There we go. I just wasn't hovering over it. Whoopsie. Sweet. So that is awesome. And then now would I just go add a transition to the regular state? Is that going to apply to everything? Sweet. All right. There it is. That's awesome. So then where is the transition going to apply? Is there a specific spot that the timing transition, or do I have to do opacity? No? Maybe I have to do it to the after state? On the after. Put the transition on after. Oh, okay. So it has to go in the after state as well. Yeah! Let's go! This is so sick. I love it. Let's go admire your handiwork. That is so cool. Will you add this whole menu as a reusable object at the end? No, because it's in my site-wide template right now. We're editing my all pages template. So this is going to apply to everywhere across the site. So we don't need it as a reusable part. Golf clap. Fantastic job. So now if we go to contact, then we get our arrow next to contact and we get our squiggly line bit. Super awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, thank you for pushing me to do this because quite honestly, I almost skipped it, but it really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And so just in summary, to achieve that, what we did was go to after, set the background to the desired image. Under the size and spacing, we set a width of 100%, gave it a height. Then in our layout, we did nothing. In our effects, on the after state, we set the opacity to 0. We applied a transition to the after state. Then we added a new state, which is hover after. And then in this one, we just went effects, opacity, and changed that to 1. That is super, super awesome. Very, very cool. This is just so simple, but I just absolutely love it. I completely agree with you, Elijah, that the custom underline, it totally does make it feel fancier. So, Andre, I appreciate you hanging out. You're here like basically every time we do one of these, so I appreciate that. And you followed me on Clubhouse, so I appreciate that. Sweet. So then the other thing that's super awesome about this is, let me actually go back to my homepage, because one thing I didn't want to have happen is the modal background to scroll. So that is something I want to turn off, I think, which is what I was looking for earlier. There is a way to turn that off, I thought. Or am I just insane? Close modal automatically, no. Close on escape key, yes. Backdrop click, yes. I could have sworn there was a way to prevent the modal from scrolling, but maybe not. Not a big deal. Let's have a little peek over here at the mockup. So our menu is almost done. We still need to figure out how to push it into our content. So what I'm going to do in this case is actually just change this to hidden. I am going to change the background of our menu div up here to be fully transparent. So wait, I had a plan and it's suddenly falling apart for how I can get this on top of our inner content. Simon, I appreciate that. Really nice of you to say. Sometimes I feel like a straight up idiot and I'm like not getting what people are sharing, but it just is so good to get, it's just so awesome to get this stuff. Just wanted to touch real quickly on the support that you guys have given me. It's absolutely awesome. We've had, 2 different people donate on this stream, which is incredible. I just, like I've said before, can't appreciate your generosity enough. So thank you. And we have had a ton of people watching here this entire time. I can't believe it. Last stream was the most people that have ever watched at one time, and this one is not far off. So I really appreciate that. And Elijah says, web design battle would be fun, replicating dribble mockups or something. Yes, I would leave that up to some other folks, I believe. Jay Barrios, awesome. Super glad to see other F1 fans. I'm super stoked for the season that's going to be kicking off. And Kyle says absolute position, top 0 the header, and increase the Z index. That's actually not a bad idea. Kyle says give a thumbs up to the stream, please. Please do. That would be amazing. Thank you very much. Web design battles, yes. So what I would love to do with the web design battles is... I would love to kind of like moderate and host and then have 2 other people from the community actually do it. Because I really think that if those 2 people could focus, they weren't worried on chat and they didn't have to narrate, and I could do it, then that would be super awesome. So give me your suggestions on who would be your like top picks for the actual competitors. My vote would be... my vote would be Kyle and Elijah, but the difference would be, well, I was going to say you can't use any custom code, something like that. Andre says, Jonathan's surprised about Kyle having a good idea. It's just always surprising when Kyle's not trolling me. Oh, wow, the likes just shot up. Thank you, guys. I just noticed that. The like count went through the roof. So Kyle, what if Elijah had to use his left hand on the mouse only? Like he had to hold his right hand up the entire time, so then he has to use only one hand, and then he's just like severely handicapped. Elijah says no. Come on, man. It was your idea. Kyle's, you have been very nice this whole stream. You've been fantastic. And you gave me tacos last time, so I appreciate that. Or maybe I should say you gave me money that will turn into tacos eventually. Elijah says I'll use nothing but my trackpad and my nose. Yes, please. That is perfect. I love it. Now that's a competition, Kyle. Build an O2 and Elijah has to build an Elementor just to even it out. That's hilarious. While you guys are goofing around, I'm going to set this to 0. Static. Is it fixed? Does so what I was trying real quick was just to stick this div. Oh, it's Z index. So it's absolute 0, and then the width of 100%. There we go. Yep, good call. I was just confused on. I'm actually going to go way higher Z index just to be super clear. I was confused on why it wasn't popping up there. Now let me double check what the spacing is. I believe it was 40 pixels, and then is this one all? Oh wait, wrong spot. This one is probably also 40. Yep. So on this div, we're gonna go 40 pixels on the top. Close button needs fixing on smaller screens. iPhone 8 SE. Oh, okay. So let's go back to live preview, and let's refresh this bad boy. So we do have some overlap issues there, but we'll fix that in just a minute. So what happens on like the iPhone 5 and SE? Oh yeah, so it's kind of off. I see what you're talking about. Maybe what we'll do is for the smaller screen sizes at like less than 992, or maybe even 768, because 992 still looks fine. Maybe we'll switch the close icon to the left, so it's not right on top of the home. So we'll go, what was it, 72 to the left. I think that'll be good. And then the backdrop click still works, so that will be fine. Cool. So I'll test that on some other phones in a little bit. And now I'm going to click that off. I don't really need the modal, so I'm going to hide that. And then we do need to figure out our footer situation. So before we switch out of our site-wide template, we're going to come down here real quick. This guy is going to be mega easy. This one right here. And then this one will be some grid. Oh, look, we have another squiggly situation on the hovers down here. So now we know how to do that. You'll need to set this overflow, the modal to scroll on smaller devices. Yeah, actually, probably so, Kraka, you're right. Let me go back to that modal while we're still here. And then, like at less than 992, let's go to live. Let's go to layout, and then overflow will be scroll, but I don't want left and right scroll bars, so we'll have to double check that that actually works just fine. But I'm just gonna use that as a little bit of a handicap at the moment so that we can move on and get to our footer, because how much time have we been doing this? The time seriously flies by when we're doing this. It's kind of crazy. Well, let's see. What are we at? Oh, nearly 3 hours. So crazy. It's legitimately nuts how quickly this time goes by. So Taylor, you were saying change Squiggly to its own class, but realistically, we did all that stuff to this class, and I'm just going to duplicate this anyway. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured, Kraka. We won't actually see it, so it's all good. Now, let's go ahead and stick in a div. This guy is going to be our footer. This div, he is going to be 100%. I'm going to ignore the background color because we're going to have two different divs. This first one is going to be that upper row. So once again, this one will be 100% width. I think that's the lighter of the two background colors, so we'll adjust it in a moment if need be. And now we're going to go with a text link. These are going to be RV footer menu links. Let's check out the styling here. So those are uppercase. We have our 4-pixel font weight, Prata, and then size 16, which ours is technically going to be like 18. So font family is Prata, text color of white, Typography will be uppercase, letter spacing of 4. And then what was our padding? I didn't actually check that. So 23 above and below, and then it's basically just going to be centered. So we don't need to worry about the top. I'm going to do that on the div though. So 23, 23. And let's see. Well, actually, we want this div that's going to contain our links to have a width of 100%, but we want it to be a max width of 1440. So then I'm going to take this other div, the wrapper, and set it to center. So then I guess we do actually need a color because there's going to be some bleeding on the left and right edges there. So maybe 1440 isn't the answer. Let's see. Well, first of all, I also wanted to check how much spacing is between these two, so it's 130. I guess we don't really need to set that manually though. So we're just going to duplicate this out a couple of times. I'm going to go to horizontal, space around like that. Jason, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't know if you noticed, we have a very dire coffee situation. Also, this stream is not sponsored, so I'm not giving these people any extra promotion than they need. But tried something different today. I went with an iced espresso instead of my usual just iced coffee. I needed to get ripped for the stream, and here we are. Okay. Let's see. What are we doing here? It's basically the same thing as in our modal. So amenities, resort map, contact book now. Amenities, come on. Amenities. Amenities, contact. Resort map. I think those are actually flipped, but I don't really care. And then book now. Book meow. Actually, we're going to change this to book meow for the moment. Hopefully I don't forget to change that. Kyle says, this seemed like a great kind of stream for Oxygen to sponsor. Just saying, you got my back, brother. Whenever they sponsor that, I'll split that big money with you. Let me take a look on the front end real quick because I want to see how that footer is going to behave. I guess I could do another div. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this div with another div. This one is going to be 100. And there we go. So that should solve my problem. It does. Almost. So this one needs to have the background color there. And then that boy needs to be centered. And then I think, refresh, bam. Actually, Kyle, that's a super good idea because I reached out to them asking to get, basically some help on the review video that I did, and they did it. So I bet you they would probably do the sponsorship deal. That's a super good idea. So then we're going to add another div, which is going to be our second row down below here. So 100% will be this guy. I think this one's background color is that. We're going to center this boy before we leave. Then this one, once again, this one is going to be max width of 1440 with the width of 100%. And then let's see, PR asks, is it better to do menu and footer as reusable? And then 2, for menu footer to use the menu system to update the links automatically. Both of those are personal preferences and really only depend on what you're doing on your site and whether you need that or not. It really just depends. Very, very rarely do I use my header and footer as reusable parts. I used to do that a lot before conditions came out, but now with conditions, I don't really find myself using reusable parts except very infrequently. Okay, so now we have 4 columns here. So this is going to be the perfect use case for grid. And then I'm figuring that these are going to be our H3 class. Yep, they are. So I already have a div inside of here. What was I doing with this? Is that going to be our first one? I guess it will be. So I'm going to leave that alone. We'll set this guy to a grid, column count of 4. And then here's our first div. So I need to figure out how much padding we have above and below this. So it's 28. So I don't need it on the actual columns themselves. I'm going to do it on this. So it's 28 pixels up above. And then this div will end up being centered, I believe. So I'm not going to worry about the positioning inside of it just yet. So our heading, we're going to add our H3 class. Then we're going to go RV heading H3 white. And on this one, we're going to set that to white. So now the styling is done for us. We're going to have office hours and contact as our first 2 headings. Office hours. And then we had a text element. This stuff is all just made up for the time being. So I'm just going to slap it straight on the page. And then I'm actually going to take this entire div and set the typography to white so I don't have to set everything manually. Probably should have done that at first. And then it looks like we have an extra space in front of that M. Or is it centered? Oh yeah, it's just centered. Okay. So now just to make this nice and easy, I'm going to duplicate this 3 times. And let's make some further adjustments here. So we definitely need to get some extra padding underneath that div. And what do we have? It looks like nearly 100. There's 96. Oops. 96. And then contact us. I don't remember what the other ones were. This address is actually not right, but I will use it to make it nice and simple. And then the other 2 were just a simple description about the business, which is a great idea, and some social icons, and then those links, which we are just going to copy straight out of our header. So we're going to stick some social icons in this bad boy. You have to check the largest column for the bottom padding. Oh, okay. Yep. We're going to change this background color. Wait, let's see. Was it circles? Oh, no, it's the squared ones. And then the background color looks to be kind of an opaque white. Oh, no, it's our global color, and then it becomes... Oh, okay, so it's the global color with a 60% opacity, and then on hover, it becomes the full color. So that's kind of neat. So our background color will be that with an opacity of 60. And then on hover, it has an opacity of 1. And then the icon color looks to be... Oh, no, not hover. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. On our original state, then the icon... looks to be actually transparent, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So, I guess we just do it as the same color as the background. That works. Sweet. So that looks good. And then last but not least, I already forgot what our last column was. It's these text links. So we are just going to rob those straight out of our modal to make it super simple. So I'm going to take that, get it all the way down in here. We're going to stick that right there. Heading and text. Bam. And then we'll go to, and then I think what we're going to do is reduce the margin here quite a bit. So RV menu links footer will be our class that we add. And there is only 24 pixels of margin on that on the bottom. So then I'm going to take this class and just stick it on all of these. And oops, I can't select that. There we go. One more time. Save. And oh, actually, I don't need it on this one. I actually need this one to be, well, I don't need this class on that one at all. And then on the ID, I can just set this one to 0 because that one doesn't need the extra space. So Kyle, dude, it's funny you say that. I say it as modal, but I used to say it as modal. I think it's kind of a potato thing, or like, you know, soda versus pop kind of deal. Unless I'm just like nuts, possibly. Um, Terms and conditions, privacy policy, and rental terms, I think, are all really fantastic example pages here. So privacy policy and rental terms. Modal. Yeah, Chris, good to see you, buddy. Welcome in. I don't know if you've been here the whole time, but I appreciate you chiming in. So there is that. Sweet. That was super easy to replicate our little squiggly guy. You can use last child. Oh, okay. I just typically go with the margin 0 on the ID for the last element because it's typically not that big of a deal. I also just noticed there isn't proper spacing between those, which is 16. So I want to fix that real quick. And then, okay. Refresh this bad boy. And, oh, so we have a bit of a mistake here. We need to wrap this div one more time. And then this one is going to be 1440. Background color is the dark boy. Right? Wait, no. I don't want the 1440 on this one. I want it on the second one, which I think I already did. No, I didn't. 1440. I still have that white space. What did I do? Space between the social icons. Yes, although I believe that the social icons, oh, well, no, I guess it does work. 30 pixels. What is the proper number here? So it's 16. I don't think it quite equates though, right? Oh, maybe it does. I'm just wrong. Design with Crocus says, what happens if you swap the elements and another one becomes the last element? Using last child solves that. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. I think I would do that in a case where there's a lot more of them. Or, yeah, something where it wouldn't take me 2 seconds to fix it. What was I just doing? I guess it was the background color, making sure I had fixed that issue. So this has the background color of the green. Width is 100%. And that should solve it. Oh, but I need to center it. There we go. One more time. Refresh. Huzzah! And then we probably need to fix our grid gap because these look pretty close together here. And the earlier stuff we've been using about a 40 grid gap. So I'm going to bump that up a bit. Is it this one right here? Is that one the one we set grid on? Right there. Okay. So 40 grid gap. And then we need to look at this on the mobile breakpoints. 992, it's too crammed, so we're going to drop to 2 columns. And then 768 is where we're going to drop it to 1 column. Cool. So there's probably more. Oh, do you need to set the grid gap again? Oh, row gap. Okay. So I actually think I want to go back up to 992 and change the row gap here to 40. And then at 768, it's going to... Oh, it doesn't apply. Weird. Maybe that was a mistake I made. But anyway, I just wanted the rows to have some extra space in between them. Now I wanted to double check real quick and make sure that our links right above this footer I think we should be back. I think we should be back. Are we back? Hopefully I didn't just kill the stream. Woo! Awesome. All right. We recovered. Yay! I don't know I don't know what just happened there. That was super bummer. So what's really weird about that is that the YouTube interface was still, it was like going, but there was a little spinny guy, and OBS looked fine. But then when I click something in OBS on the streaming like portal, then it just blew up. So yeah, there we go. So we should be back. Sorry about that. So maybe there's a problem with OBS when you're streaming for over 3 straight hours. Nothing has changed on the screen here, so let me just switch, make sure everything is good on my side. Yeah, it looks like we're all good. Okay. Sweet. Thank you guys for your patience. I'm sure that happens from time to time on other sites. But anyway, what I was doing, I'm not sure exactly where we left off. What I switched to was the homepage so that we could try to get this stuff back sorted out. Yeah, I know. Elijah is going to take another $1 for the stream failing. I'm down to 3. This sucks. Okay. So all that I did was just push some margin there. But to be honest, I think what I want to do is go margin top auto. And then does this section have padding on the bottom? It does. So then that's just going to push it down. But what happens if we're on smaller screens? Does it start to go completely haywire? Yeah, so there's something with this section that we have to... Oh, actually, I didn't adjust the mobile responsive view on the actual logo up there. So we're going to need to play with this a little bit. So 1440, I think I'm going to change this width to 50%. Then 992. Actually, no, I don't really like that. I'm going to leave it as is. 992, 768, and then at 480, I think we need to change the div now to 100% width. And then we need to shrink this heading from, what is it, 52, I believe? Yeah, 52 down to about 38. And then, should we drop that to 16? No, that's too small. Oh, crap. Sorry. No! Wasted time! When I restarted OBS, it wasn't automatically switching. I'm sorry, y'all. We are stuck on the Figma screen. No! Okay, this is where I was. Sorry about that. So basically, all I'm trying to do is just adjust this stuff. Can you guys see oxygen now? And then if I switch back to Figma, yeah, it's working on my side, so it should be good to go. I'm going to definitely put that in this tutorial. How not to run a stream in your last 30 minutes. But those of you guys that donated, the money stuck with me. So even though the stream sucks, you can't give it back. Just kidding. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So what I was looking at is how this collapses on the smaller screens. So that heading is pretty huge, but everything does fit. I need to check it on my actual phone and save this real quick. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at it on my real phone because sometimes it doesn't quite equate between my phone and like the, what do you call this? Chrome Inspect. That's what I'm trying to say. So it does fit, but there's something else broken on the page. Oh, it's the footer. Yeah. So we need to go fix 2 things and then we'll be pretty much set here. So the home page is mostly sorted. In our template, there's 2 broken things on my phone, which is those links right above the bottom footer. And then the header doesn't quite collapse. So it's this right here. Oh, actually, that one works perfectly fine. So the footer links right here is what kind of breaks. So since that one is just horizontal, maybe we change this to grid. So how many do we have? 5? How does it line up? So the book now is not all the way over there. No, that's not going to work. We need it to be horizontal to be consistent with the design. So then what we'll do is 1440, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we still have them all. Then 992, we're going to just set them to stack vertically, I guess. And we will go with 16 pixels. Although we do need some breathing room on the left edges. Oh yeah, flex wrap is a good idea. So layout, flex, where is it? Flex wrap. Is it column? Row? Where are we at? 992. Shouldn't it be wrapping by now? Flex row. Flex start center. Oh, is it because I made a change over here? Let me go back up. So flex, row, wrap, float. Scrap that. All right, so 992, vertical, left. Choose a smaller breakpoint to see it. Oh, sorry, I'm clicking around like a absolute lunatic. So forgive me. So layout, flex, wrap, 762. Then layout, flex, space between, space around. I'm not sure that I like that. Because we would need some margin underneath those. I guess that looks okay, actually. I'm just being a little bit too harsh. That works, but I probably, since it'll be a touch target, it probably needs a bit more margin, don't you think? So it'll look like that. Cool. 992. No. 480. Cool. Yep. Looks pretty good to me. All right, so now if we refresh this view, then it oh, there's still something broken. Is it that? That obviously doesn't fit, so that needs some tweaking. What else is broke? Oh, it's that heading. Recommended partners. This is the only thing that is a little hassle-some sometimes, is switching back and forth between your template and your home page, especially if you're a bit ADHD like me and you want to fix these things on the fly as soon as you see them, so you're like bouncing back and forth. But I'm just knocking out little bugs. So I did say that I wanted to adjust the box shadow to be a bit softer. So let's bump this back down. Go to like 15, and then the blur, we'll bump that up to like 8. Clean that up a little bit. And then this, why is this one so huge and not collapsing, I wonder? It just ends up blasting itself off the page. But it works here. Oh no, not there. So what's the font size on this H2? I think it's 48. So at 762, we could bump it down to like 42. Does that fit? Yeah, perfect. White gap of doom. No! I should post in the Facebook group and see if anybody can figure it out. So then now, are we set? Oh, I don't think I saved. So save and refresh. The only thing is that little gap between the colors might be still the cause of this heading. It is. So Arthur suggested earlier a width of 100%. And then if we, oh wait, actually, I don't think I want that. Yeah, it's pretty huge. I always struggle with trying to shrink the font sizes and making it look okay. So 42 is there. And then let's drop down to 36 on this one. And then I think that's going to sort it. Yeah, so, okay, so at least everything fits in the bounds of the page now. Kyle says, on the tab website in my main template, I did an outermost div that everything lives inside and set it to overflow hidden, so I literally can't get a horizontal scroll. That's awesome. Chris asks, have you tried using fluid fonts? Not really. No, are you talking about Agency Base, that other Oxygen add-on? I actually own that, but I haven't really played with it, to be honest. It looks like I also need some padding right here, because those definitely shouldn't be bumping up against the edges like that. But yeah, Kyle, send me that font calculator. That'd be awesome. So our modal needs some work, although I'm not convinced that that's actually how it behaves on a real mobile device. So let me refresh on my phone and see. It actually fits. It works perfectly on my phone. So the Chrome Inspect is not exactly appropriate, although you kind of miss the fact that there's the phone call to action at the bottom. So I think what I'd probably do on the mobile is shrink the margins a bit so that you can actually see at least a portion of that mobile button, like the phone number button, I mean. And then otherwise everything else works perfectly fine. If I show you, bam, sweet. Okay, well, I would say, I don't know about you, but we got this pretty far in an amazing amount of time. So once again, now it says we're at 11 minutes. That's not true. How long have we been doing this? Stream. Where does it tell me? I don't know. It's been hours. It's been quite a while. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to Elijah, Heinrich, and Jason for donating on the stream today. Absolutely amazing. Really appreciate you guys. And this is really fun. I enjoy doing this a lot. Like I mentioned earlier, this is actually a real client site that will eventually go live probably sometime next month. And then hopefully will be fully functional in the beginning of May when they're hoping to kind of start taking reservations. Bunch of you guys have been here since the very beginning. Chris, you've been here the entire time. I really appreciate that. All of you guys have been here really early on. And this is just such a fantastic way to connect with everybody. So as always, I really appreciate you guys hanging out. Would love suggestions on what else you'd like to see. I think that build off is such a good idea, the like design challenge. So send me your suggestions on who you'd like to see compete in that, and I will see if I can pull off getting that organized. So as always, thank you everybody. Yeah, Kyle. People like, I guess, that sort of like companionship of being able to hang out together, have some stranger's voice from the internet push you guys and hopefully make you work a little bit harder. So anyway, thank you everybody. Have a fantastic day. I won't be around much until next week, so I will see you then. Until next time, bye-bye.